there if you're trying to get up towards Payson and then eventually to Provo and what have you. In the Salt Lake Valley itself, it's looking pretty decent once you get around that point of the mountain delay that we have there. In fact, only the south interchange you're going to run a little less than regular speed. Everything else is looking pretty decent at this point. Cormac?
Southbound I-15, still scattered delays from Farmington all the way down into Salt Lake, and we do still have this crash transitioning eastbound I-215 at the north interchange to go north on I-15. It is only one lane on that transition ramp, causing some pretty heavy congestion. Getting off at Beck Street, you are in very dense slowdowns in that construction zone with only 2 lanes, but Victory Road looking good as you approach the U.S. Capitol. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, we'll have clouds, a slight chance of rain in the afternoon, 96 degrees for a high 97. Tomorrow, we get up to 100 on Friday, 104 on Sunday. Right now, it's partly cloudy and 81 degrees downtown. Inside Sources coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, it just got a little easier to find people who get lost in the great outdoors. And it's thanks to an app created by a Utahn. KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson has more.
Homebound allows you to input your location, route, and time expected home. So if you're hiking, camping, or backcountry skiing, you can allow your emergency contacts to stay up to date with your whereabouts.
And they'll say, hey, they haven't checked in, and they'll get alerts, and they'll be able to watch it on their home screen, and they'll be able to see, hey, they're not checking in, let me make sure they're okay, and then that reduces response time from maybe a day to an hour.
Hudson Schmidt from Park City created the Homebound app just this last fall, and it's growing in popularity. He was inspired by his own experiences being disconnected from people while out in nature. But you don't have to be off the grid to use it. You can even enter a time expected home from studying at the library or working the late shift. So if you're not home when you're supposed to be, it'll send an alert. Britt Johnson, KSL News Radio.
With triple-digit temperatures on the way, we could see local cooling centers fill up. In Salt Lake County, public buildings like senior centers and rec centers are allowing people to come in and temporarily cool off. The problem is many are closed on Sunday, which is slated to be 104 degrees. CEO for the Road Home, Michelle Flynn, says they have room for over 1,000 people to stay if they need to get out of the heat. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, the gap between what the U.S. imports and what it exports widened considerably in May.
As with so many facets of the economy, artificial intelligence is contributing to the trade deficit as more companies turn to AI, which in turn is heavily reliant on imports. The Commerce Department today released the numbers for May, finding that U.S. exports fell 3.2% that month. Imports rose 3.3%.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow is off 190 points at this hour. We're at 52,865. Coming up, hot and getting hotter. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
That sound, it's not a clock. It's how long you've been thinking about updating your kitchen. 6 months, a year, maybe longer. Same countertops, same frustration, same someday. Here's the truth. Doing nothing costs more than you think. Because every day you walk past a space that doesn't match the home you want. Bedrock Quartz changes that fast. With over 100 in-stock stone options, transparent pricing, and a team that installs quickly and gets it right the first time. You can stop waiting and start enjoying your home. Get started now by visiting bedrockquartz.com or stop by any of the convenient Bedrock Quartz showrooms. Bedrock Quartz, your vision, our precision.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place.
The ridgeline is imposing the escarpments, the drops.
Where survival.
It's dark now. I have nothing.
Is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you, like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. And here's Cormac Bone.
Our worst delays are still northbound I-15 in Santaquin, just after Main Street. There is that crash that is still only letting one lane through, so it's pretty dense as you get through Santaquin. But once you pass the crash, you are in the clear really all throughout Utah County until you get to about 2100 north in Lehigh, where those residual delays from the crash that we had causing delays all morning start up. It's from 2100 north around the point of the mountain up to Bangerter Highway, and then you're pretty much in the clear all the way into Salt Lake on North 15. South 15 still seeing scattered residual delays from Farmington all the way down into Salt Lake City, and we do still have this crash transitioning from eastbound I-215 at the north interchange to go north on I-15, though it looks like they're about to clean that one up too. Thirsty for better water? Culligan has you covered. From softeners and filtration to bottle-free coolers and bottled water delivery, trusted local experts make water taste amazing. Visit CulliganSLC.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be partly cloudy and hot today, up to 96 degrees. More of the same tomorrow. We get up to 100 on Friday, 104 on Sunday. Right now it's 81 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Overnight, the Springville campus of a controversial treatment school for troubled youth had their license revoked. Now, the Provo Canyon School must wind down operations at the campus by the beginning of August.
Yeah, this school came into the spotlight a few years ago, if you recall, after celebrity Paris Hilton testified on Capitol Hill, Utah's Capitol Hill, about the treatment and abuse that she suffered while attending that school several years ago.
So that came, her testimony came as State Senator Mike McKell sponsored legislation to increase oversight over these treatment facilities. We're going to chat with him about that in about 15 minutes.
But first, let's get a breakdown of what actually happened last night. We're joined in studio this morning by KSL News Radio Cameron Elliott. Cam, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Greg and Holly.
All right.
This, I don't know if it came out of the blue or not. I mean, this is something that has been probably in the works for some time. There are a significant number here of allegations that have been made, citations. It almost, to me, as an attorney, surprises me that something hadn't happened to this school sooner.
I think out of the blue, yes and no. I think that they had expected something like this to happen. They had expected a letter like this to come out. I don't know if they expected it to be, it was going to be July 7th of 2026 that we're going to get this. But you're exactly right. There are a lot of allegations here. They obviously didn't all happen at the same time on the same day. So I don't know what they chose, why they chose now to release this letter. I don't know why they chose now to make sure that this school lost their license just today, but I'm sure that we'll find out later. They're having a press conference at 2:00 today. I'm sure we're going to find out more details. But what we do have here in this letter is already, I would say, pretty damning. Now, obviously, as Greg and I discussed earlier, it hasn't been adjudicated. None of this has been brought in any sort of court or any sort of trial. That's to say that technically it's still up in the air. Technically, it hasn't fully, entirely been decided by a court of law that all of this is true.
So let me ask you this then, both of you. Does it have to be decided by a court of law? Because it's a state licensing agency that says there are so many citations here that we've issued, we're shutting you down.
That's right, and it doesn't. So they can. What happens is this, and Cam's exactly right. There was a number of citations issued. I think I counted something like 12 or 13 that have been issued over some period of time. It's like a citation if your dog's running loose or you're parked in the wrong place or something like that. There's citations. They can appeal this, and they've given them some indication of how they can do that if they want to file some sort of agency appeal. They've got 15 days to do that. And they also, according to this letter, even though the revocation is effective yesterday, they have until August 6th to terminate all their services and get, they have to notify all the
right,
parents.
They have to wind down.
Right,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that. So I'm wondering, what are some of the complaints? What are some of the citations that were issued in this letter saying we're also revoking the license?
Yeah, so some of the citations issued here are pretty serious accusations. Now, obviously, there's just some more clerical stuff about background checks for staff and so on and so forth. But, a couple of things here. Now, it kind of breaks down to legal jargon, but for the sake of simplicity, it's things like aggressive physical contact between the staff and their clients, so between staff of the school and
the kids.
And kids. There's things here about people being struck while in restraints, like a kid has been restrained either for the safety of themselves and others, according to the school, and while they were restrained, they were struck by staff. And there's also just a lot here that's basically saying that their dignity was not being held in the course that it should be. The dignity and respect of the students and clients was not being respected. And I mean, a lot of this is a little bit more nebulous, I guess, because it's things like potential harm and acts of violence and dignity and respect and more conceptual stuff. But then some of these are referring to specific incidents where they say, so-and-so was struck. Obviously, it doesn't name anybody by name, but it says the people were harmed in a specific instance, and we have proof of that, I suppose.
You might recall, Holly, that Paris Hilton actually, I think, testified before our legislature. It's been a couple of years about what she considered to be abuse at that particular school. So it's no surprise that this has followed up some level of investigation by the Department of Health and Human Services, and they've gone through, as Cam indicated, a number of violations here. Apparently, and I don't know if you know this, Cam, but apparently the agency or the group has two facilities. There's one in Provo, and this is the one in Springville.
They do, and as far as I'm aware, the one in Springville is the larger one. The distinction there is the one in Springville is the girls' campus, and the one in Provo is the boys' campus. Now, I was reading an article earlier this morning from our friends over at the Salt Lake Tribune, and they were saying that the boys' one is being very closely monitored due to an incident that happened sometime earlier this year, I think. And so they have not received any sort of revocation of their license, but the girls' school has, at this point, had their license revoked.
So you just mentioned Paris Hilton, and she's come multiple times to the state of Utah. There's been lawsuits against that facility. I saw a picture of her online holding, this was not yesterday, it was a while ago, holding a sign saying basically shut down Provo Canyon School. So Cam, has she responded?
Yeah, well, I reached out to her team earlier this morning. Now,
go you.
Thank you very much. It's still very early in LA, so she wasn't able to speak to me directly, but we did get a letter from her. Where would you like me to read it in full?
Please. Yeah, please do.
Well, Hilton said to me today, the state of Utah revoked Provo Canyon School's license for its Springville campus. For more than 50 years, children came forward with stories of abuse, neglect, and trauma. Today, the state confirmed that what survivors have known all along, Provo Canyon School failed the children in its care. She continues to say, I was one of those children. I know what it feels like to cry for help and believe no one is coming. Today, children still inside that facility know someone is finally coming to protect them. The little girl in me who was told she would never be believed feels so validated today. We were telling the truth. We always were. And she finishes by saying, no institution is too powerful to be held accountable. When survivors refuse to stay silent, change is possible.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, Holly, they do have 15 days to request a hearing. It's kind of an appeal, but in this case, since it hasn't gone through the court, they can request an administrative hearing with the department, and they will have a hearing to decide whether or not these allegations do support the requested sanction, which is the revocation of their license. That's the most severe sanction you can have. Is
sure.
You can suspend it or other things. So if they request a hearing, they'll have that. That'll be fairly short order because they've ordered them to shut down in the next 30 days. So I don't know whether they will appeal this or not. I would just say this from my own perspective. These allegations, if proven, would be more than enough to revoke the license of a facility.
Well, and I will note there's ongoing lawsuits against this facility as well. So,
right.
Thanks, Cam, for joining us. Cameron Elliott
thank you.
in studio with us. And coming up on Inside Sources, I wonder if this kind of license revocation is what State Senator Mike McKell had in mind when he sponsored legislations on these treatment facilities. So we're going to ask him that when we come back after the break.
About 3 months ago, I contacted Soda Diet Nutrition. It was actually April 8th, and told them that I needed to lose some weight. I thought maybe let's see where we are in 3 months. Well, it didn't take 3 months. It took 7 weeks for me to lose all of the weight that I wanted to lose, and it was significant. They told me I could lose between 3 and 5 pounds a week, and I lost over 4 pounds a week for those 7 weeks. And I managed to keep it off. Soda Diet Nutrition has been very good to me, in part because what I wanted to do was lose weight without going on medication or get injections. I wanted to lose weight based on a change of diet, change of lifestyle, and they hooked me up and set me up with a diet plan. Actually had me contact a nutritionist who calls me weekly and just says, hey, what are we doing? What can we do? How can we help you out? And gives me a food program that I've been following very closely, and I've continued to follow it even though I've lost all the weight that I requested. In fact, I continue to lose weight even though I'm not trying anymore. It's been such a good program. Soda Diet Nutrition, SOTA, has been very good to me. It'll be very good to you too. Remember, SOTA stands for State of the Art.
So to illustrate the difference between regular trees and new super trees, we've placed two men in a wind tunnel. One with a toupee and the other with real hair. The toupee is starting to peel off, and yes, there it goes. It's completely off his head. But the other man's hair, while being blown around like crazy, isn't going anywhere. Clearly roots made all the difference in that experiment. And roots make all the difference in super trees. Trees grown in conventional pots could develop circling root deformities, making them weaker and more likely to blow over. But super trees are grown in special air pot containers that promote superior root development. The result is stronger, faster-growing trees with more lustrous foliage. Visit Super Trees and receive 10% off. Super Trees at their Riverton Nursery at 2767 West, 12600 South, or online at supertrees.com. Super Trees, because better roots make better trees.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
I think my biggest challenge was getting through to him to understand that love is real and you have goals in mind, you have things that want to happen, and I want to help you get there.
Sometimes people tend to shy away from wanting to adopt teenagers because they feel like they've lost so much, but there's still so much to gain.
Just knowing that there's just that other person that cares and loves me out there, it feels great. And they've done so much for me, and I can only be appreciative every single day for just having them in my life.
I think it's been the best decision because I gained a son, and he's the best son ever. If I was down and out, he'd be there.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled, and as he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
Inside Sources.
Let's continue our coverage of some interesting news that came out of Utah County yesterday. The State Department of Health and Human Services has revoked the residential treatment license for the Springville campus of the controversial Provo Canyon School.
As we learned from KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott before the break, it means all new enrollments are prohibited and all services must end by August 6th, just a month away.
Yeah, and of course they have 15 days to file an appeal or at least a request for an administrative hearing, so it remains to see whether they'll do that. But you might recall a couple years ago, Senator Mike McKell sponsored legislation on Capitol Hill to increase oversight and transparency for these type of centers. So we have a number of them in Utah. He joins us now for his reaction to this new development. Senator, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me on. It's always good to be with both of you, Greg and Holly.
Well, again, thanks for joining us. So tell us, what was your reaction to this news?
You know, I knew the state was investigating, so let me just say that I support the action taken by the Office of Licensing, first and foremost. These are difficult issues. These are challenges. And I never want to see a facility revoked in the state of Utah. I'm a pro-business person, but ultimately they've been investigated. There's a compilation of evidence, and we got to keep these kids safe. And if we can't keep these kids safe, this is what happens. I support what the Office of Licensing did today.
It does seem to some of us, Senator, that these allegations with respect to this particular agency have been made. I think Paris Hilton spoke at the up Capitol Hill several years ago. So, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I understand due process, and you clearly do as well. But it seems like this one has taken some time to get to this point.
Yeah, it's taken some time to get to this point. And one thing, the original bill that I passed was Senate Bill 127. That was in 2021. So it's been a while. This is not the only license that's been revoked over the years. This is not the only facility that potentially could be closed down in the state of Utah. But it has taken a while to get to this point. One thing that we've allowed licensing to do is look at facilities over a longer period of time rather than isolating one specific event. They have a chance to look at a broader period of time, and I think that's the real concern here. Again, you never want to see a facility revoked, but you also you understand we've got to protect these kids first and foremost. And if a facility can't guarantee the safety of kids, there's a consequence for that. I don't ever celebrate something like this. It's hard, and it's hard to see a facility shut down. But again, there is a consequence if you're not able to protect these kids.
So, Senator, your bill was 2021, and I, thanks to Dr. Google, saw that in 2020, there were 45,000 signatures submitted asking the state to shut down this facility. So I guess as a follow-up, how many instances need to happen before the state does shut down a facility like this? Because it feels to me, and I know Greg's already mentioned it too, that there's a long history here.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I will say prior to 2021, our regulatory structure was fairly light, and that wasn't because the Office of Licensing wasn't asking for help. It just that structure was not in place. And Dr. Google will teach you that we've passed several bills since 2021. We've worked on this for a while, but we are allowing the Office of Licensing to look at a course of events over time rather than an isolated event. And I think as you look at the report, there are a number of events that have happened on that, and that's why the state is moving forward. Obviously, you hate to see a license revoked, but I do support the decision. I think when you look at the violations, it is a longer list. I guess to your point, at what point does the state step in? And thankfully, we've given them some of the tools that they can really get in and protect these kids. And I will say too, and I don't want to take all your time here, but the state has been in the facility. They've been investigating both the Provo campus, the Springville campus. I know the Disability Law Center also has some authority to go in and investigate. They've done a comprehensive review at both facilities, and I think that some of the findings have been troubling. I think that's why you saw a press conference a few weeks ago. The latest attack at the Provo campus is really concerning.
Mike, did your bill or bills sort of streamline the investigative process or make it a little bit easier, or maybe just give them more of a broad-based investigative authority so that the state could go in and investigate some of these agencies?
Yeah, and great question. So back in 2021, we actually put in some additional funds, $600,000 of ongoing money to help pay for some of these investigators, some of these state employees. We required 4 inspections a year, two that unannounced and 2 that would be announced. We also gave them authority to go in at any point if there was a problem. So it definitely started the process, and then over time that the state has really dialed in making sure these kids are protected. But I think the important thing here is we've given them an ability to look at a license over a period of time. And I know I've rehashed that, but we had a really bad incident with an attack at Provo Canyon at the Provo campus. But when these investigators and the licensing looks at these issues, they're not looking at that issue in isolation. They get to look at a longer period of time. And I think that's where this conclusion, where this revocation is coming from, is looking at the facts over a longer period of time.
So, Senator, I know that you have been on the forefront of this in the state of Utah. I also feel like there is national attention to this troubled teen, quote unquote, industry. There's a lot of controversy, and I'm wondering, is there still a role for places like this?
Well, we've got a mental health crisis in America. Certainly, the best treatment is closest to home. The best treatment is in the home, in the family, in your congregations, in your community. But we're clearly not filling that role nationally. But there is a role for a regulatory structure. As both of you know, a lot of these kids come across state lines. The attack that recently happened was a young boy from Montana, and I think that's pretty common to see these kids shipped across state lines. We have kids, our own kids, Utah kids, that will end up in programs. Typically, they don't end up in programs like Provo Canyon. Those are really expensive for the state of Utah. But we have our own version and some of our own programs. But that regulatory structure is going to be looked at nationally. I think the bills that we've passed here in Utah have been used as models in other states. But there's going to be a lot of attention to it.
Is it me, or does it seem like Utah seems to attract these type of programs more than some states? Maybe it's part of our outdoor environment, or just maybe the kind of services that we provide. But is there something about Utah that makes us unique to attract these type of groups?
I think it's a great point. Originally, yes, Utah is a very family-friendly state. We're a state that a lot of people respect and put a lot of trust in. We'd have to jump on here for a much longer period of time to look at the history of the industry. Originally, There were some leadership programs, some of them actually done through BYU that were very successful, these short-term wilderness programs, leadership programs, and that model turned into something else, something more long-term. I think when you look at the science, getting kids into treatment, even some of these wilderness programs, the studies are actually really good, but they need to be short. They need to be short-term with a very clear purpose. And a lot of the problems that we've seen are when programs have kept kids in for long extended periods of time.
All right. Thanks, Mike. That was State Senator Mike
Appreciate
McKell
it.
joining us this morning. And I think that's important what he does and what the legislature does. And I think that to the extent that it helped streamline this investigative process and brought us here, especially a program that has this history. And I don't know if maybe they'll fight it. Maybe some of it's not true. But it seems like this was probably the right thing to do given the history that we do know about.
Look, I just have to weigh in and just say I wonder if the time for programs like these marketed to quote-unquote troubled teens, if maybe it's time for them to go away. That's my personal take.
Oh, I don't know. I think some of them do pretty good work. But yeah, it's something that will certainly be discussed. Well, let's go nationally. President Trump is in Turkey for a 2-day-long NATO summit where he's expected to push European allies to pay more for their own defense. We'll get an update when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a Midvale man claims the statewide ban on fireworks was a violation of his rights.
The man, identified as Peter Ellison, was arrested on the 4th of July after lighting aerial fireworks in front of a home in Salt Lake County, where all fireworks are banned. Arrest documents say Ellison told the arresting officer he knew the governor discouraged it, but it's not the law, and it's within his civil rights to light them. Police say Ellison did not cooperate with the officer and refused to cooperate in giving a fingerprint for a citation, saying he would do it his way or he could take him to jail. He did. He was then arrested on several charges, including violation of a fire restriction order. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Firefighters are still working to put out the wildfires across the state. The Cottonwood fire is just over halfway contained, and it's seen little growth in recent days. The Wild Goose is now just over 1,200 acres and 62% contained. Unfortunately, other fires continue to grow. The Babylon fire is now over 96,000 acres and is 0% contained. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump is in Turkey for this week's summit with NATO leaders. The high-stakes meeting comes at a time when tensions are escalating in the Middle East and also between Russia and Ukraine.
NATO leaders here are hoping to turn the president's focus back to the war between Ukraine and Russia. Moscow reportedly facing one of its largest drone attacks in 2 years, shooting down more than 450 Ukrainian drones. Just hours earlier, Russia launched a wave of strikes into Ukraine's capital, killing at least 26 civilians, injuring dozens. The president will be meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky here at NATO. Of course, it was President Trump who said that he could end this conflict within 24 hours of taking office, but the fighting does continue.
ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow off 212 points at this hour. We're now at 52,843. Coming up, we'll be in the mid to upper 90s today, and it gets warmer from there. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Right now, JCW's has 15 bus
custom billboards depicting our delicious, mouthwatering hamburgers across I-15. We've also just learned that I-15 averages 15 fender benders a day. Probably a coincidence, but just in case, keep your eyes on the road. Here's what our burgers sound like. Now, with your hands at 10 and 2, safely turn into one of our 5 locations in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it.
Hi, how can I help?
Well, my husband and I feel like we've outgrown our current money manager.
I see.
Our lives have changed, and we need something more than just mutual funds to help us in retirement.
She's right.
I hear that often. At Fisher Investments, we'd start by getting to know you, your finances, family, health, lifestyle. We tailor a portfolio around your goals and needs.
Sounds good.
Can you help with estate planning?
Yes. We have a team of specialists who can help you with estate planning, Social Security, investment income, and more. We'll get to know your whole financial picture and help keep you on the path to a comfortable retirement.
And your fees?
We have a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
I feel better already.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. And back to you, Cormac.
Our worst delays are still northbound I-15 in Santaquin just after Main Street due to that crash. It looks like it is still just one lane getting through there, so it is pretty heavy all through Santaquin on North 15. But then you get through the rest of Utah County and pretty much in the clear until you run into still some residual delays build up around the point of the mountain from 2100 north and Lehigh up to Bangerter Highway. And then North 15 still slow at the south interchange, a little bit slow there as well. And then in Davis County, our worst delays are on southbound Legacy Highway. This is due to a crash just before the West Davis corridor merge. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be partly cloudy with highs in the mid-90s. We do have a 30% chance of a pop-up storm today and tomorrow. We'll get up to 100 on Friday, 104 on Sunday. Right now it's 81 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
President Trump has touched down in Turkey as he heads to the NATO summit. The meeting comes at a rather interesting time because he continues to complain about NATO.
Yeah, and he's complained about NATO from the beginning, saying that the other member countries haven't stepped up to help the U.S. He was especially upset with they didn't help with the war in Iran, which he said the president said they should do.
So here's the president before he met with the leader of Turkey today.
I was very disappointed with NATO. And frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I wouldn't have attended.
Yeah, and we're also hearing that he's talking with the Turkish people about selling them some F-35S fighter jets, despite there being some legal hurdles to that. I don't know whether that's going to occur, but he's now saying, let's open this up a little bit. And he said part of the reason for that is that Turkey has been more loyal than other NATO countries.
So he's with President Erdogan, right? And they're asking him about like F-35s and he's just saying, look, I just want to do it because he was loyal to me.
Yeah. The continued problem that Trump has with NATO, I thought had been resolved over the Ukraine issue. I thought that there was some level of stand down that, hey, well, let's agree to this and we'll supply weapons if you pay for them. But apparently that's not the case.
So one of the things that he's said today, he's talking about the NATO alliance overall, and he said the thing that hurt his relationship with NATO, although I would say it's much more than this, he said it's Greenland, because Greenland doesn't help Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to help Greenland, but it's important for the United States. And so the United States should control Greenland, not Denmark. So again, he's going back to this. But one of the things I think that's really important to note, this is not directly related to President Trump, although partially related, and that's Zelensky. So Zelensky has already addressed NATO, and he said, look, we really should be part of NATO, and here's why. And then he lays out what they've been able to do with drones, and really make the case that Ukraine should be admitted to NATO.
Yeah, I mean, Trump and NATO are really having some issues. Well, let's get to the expert on this. We have Kelly Meyer, News Nation White House correspondent. Thanks for joining us this morning, Kelly.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So I wonder if you could just set up for our listeners what you're hearing about the tensions between NATO and NATO allies and the president.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this story for News Nation today and talking about it on air. What's really at stake here and how much can change in the next 24 to 48 hours because of, whether these discussions go well or they don't. And it seems like even right off the bat, the president is in a bit of a sour mood when it comes to NATO allies. He expressed his disappointment with NATO allies. He's very frustrated, as he has been over the last year, even at his first NATO summit last year of his second term, saying that NATO allies had to step up their defense spending. You might have remembered hearing about that. And he's still frustrated about that. And on top of it, he's also frustrated that NATO allies weren't really coming to his defense when it came to the war in Iran. So that is something that is also likely to come up. So even from the get-go, the president expressing his disappointment, his disapproval at some of these NATO nations, and not exactly the start to the summit that maybe the NATO Secretary General wanted to see. And he's out there trying to say there are concrete steps for these allies and of how they're showing they're stepping up their defense spending. And there will be announcements of investments on the sidelines of this summit. But it really does come down to the conversations and the meetings the president has in person, whether or not this goes well or it doesn't.
And Kelly, it seems that at the outset from the Iranian conflict that a lot of our NATO allies were not even the least bit interested in joining that. They didn't feel as though it was something that made sense. Are we hearing any playback from them so far in terms of Trump's frustration?
Yeah, and I think so far we haven't heard from some of the allies just yet. I've heard from the NATO Secretary General. We've heard from President Erdogan of Turkey is hosting him and seems to be on the president's side. He's asking for a new shipment or a new sale of F-35s, which is another side controversy there because there's been a ban on that and sanctions on Turkey they would have to lift to make that go through. But as far as the allies, we have yet to hear more from them, especially even with, Italy's Meloni, who the president has been sparring with on social media and things like that. So there is a lot of opportunity here for potential conflict and potential, collision course with some of these allies, with the president face-to-face with some of these people who he's been publicly bashing online, and now he'll see them in person.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Kelly Meyer, News Nation White House correspondent, talking about NATO and meetings that are underway over in Turkey.
So you have to wonder, putting the conflict in Iran aside, whether the Russia-Ukraine situation is going to be big in terms of the talks with NATO, because let's face it, that conflict is ongoing. We're not directly involved in that, although through NATO we are tangentially very involved, and you wonder what our friend nations in NATO are going to say about how we're going to continue to support that conflict.
And I think that's one of the issues, right? So the president earlier was speaking to reporters and says he doesn't care about Ukraine, which of course I think is unfortunate. It's an unfortunate statement, but NATO has unveiled billions in arms deals to prove its firepower, really, before the president even got there into Turkey. But I also saw this article in the Wall Street Journal about Europe racing to, quote, plug security holes after the U.S. NATO pullback. So this was just this morning, and they're moving forward as if the United States is going to withdraw completely. I think that they're not certain that there's any guarantee that the United States will stay involved with NATO, and so they're trying to come together, I think, as European nations. So NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he said, do more faster together. We don't have the luxury of time. We need capabilities now to make sure we're ready. And then there's this, he added this, Moscow's pouring almost half of its national budget into its war machine.
Yeah, and we've heard recently, although the Iranian conflict certainly overcame what was happening in Ukraine, but we heard that the Ukrainians actually attacked Moscow. I mean, they've had some pretty big offensives, and of course, Russia has pushed back very, very hard
with drones. So Ukraine has been attacking military targets. Russia has been attacking civilian targets. But this is one of the things that President Zelensky said again today. He said just yesterday, Ukrainian drones broke through Russia's defenses and struck the Russian oil refinery in Siberia. And this is not an exception. It's the new reality. There is no major oil refinery left in Russia that has not been struck by Ukraine. And then he went on to add that the powerful, like behind the front lines, Russia, he says it's a myth. It doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
It's really, I mean, those talks got to be so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, look, when we come back, we're going to talk about sports and politics. That means the World Cup.
Yeah. And some interest.
Stay with us.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't face the IRS alone.
I was self-employed, and I got behind on my taxes. And then 1 year became 2 years and 3 years, and $116,535.47 to be exact. It just became overwhelming. Finally, I went to another tax company, and they were more interested in how good they were than helping me. I heard about Jordan and talking to the other people who'd done and been in the same situations that I was in, and their tax problems seemed just like mine. And so I went to Jordan, and it was amazing. They were able to negotiate it down to $5,200, and life became wonderful to me.
Don't face the IRS alone. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com to schedule your free consultation. That's endtaxworry.com.
I will be forever grateful.
Sign up for KSL Text Alerts. Get breaking news and traffic updates by texting the word news to 57500. Want access to exclusive contests? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking jazz updates. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply.
We might be in the hot part of summer, but it is not too early to talk about college football. Big 12 Media Days is underway, and the teams are showing up in full force. So don't miss Andy and Amanda talking with Utes insider Steve Bartle as he previews Utah football at 8:45 tomorrow morning. Our thanks to the Stern team, powered by Omada Real Estate, for making this happen.
Life doesn't slow down. It evolves. And the best chapters, well, they're still ahead. Introducing Let's Get Moving, presented by Ovation Homes, a brand new Sunday morning show designed to inspire your next step forward. Join KSL's Maria Chaleos alongside Ovation Homes' Amber Weikstra as they explore what it really means to live with purpose, from strengthening your body and mind to discovering new passions, creating beautiful, functional living spaces, building healthy communities, and finding balance in your finances, family, and future. In addition, glean insight from timely guest experts, bringing real-life experience and valuable advice you don't want to miss. This isn't about slowing down. It's about moving forward with meaningful conversations, practical ideas, and inspiration you can actually use to create a life and home you truly love. Because your best years start at Ovation Homes. Start your Sunday morning inspired from 5:30 to 6:30 on KSL.
You know what you can trust? The protection you get when you bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive. You know what you can't trust? Everything else, apparently. Like when you saw that article that said that thing you eat every day is a superfood and great for your gut health, but then 30 seconds later, a different article warns you to avoid it and it's taking years off your life. Well, which is it? Kind of a big difference there. Anyway, bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive for reliable coverage in a reliably unreliable world. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future.
Some businesses sell products, others become part of a community's legacy. Since 1948, Duke's Jewelers has been a trusted part of Springville and Utah families' most meaningful moments. That's 80 years of meaningful craftsmanship, founded by J. Melvin Duke. The tradition continues today under fourth-generation owner Kimberly Narupe, who quite literally grew up in the family shop. She has a fresh perspective and deep respect for tradition. Guided by values of care, honesty, and exceptional craftsmanship, Duke's Jewelers creates pieces designed to last a lifetime because every design begins with a story. Since Duke's is a family-owned store with lower overhead, they can offer better diamonds and craftsmanship at a better price. Learn more about this Utah Cornerstone at dukesjewelers.com.
Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
And expanded Inside Sources.
We do have some breaking news, and we have in studio with us Andy Cupp. Andy, what's going on?
Hey, so this is coming out of New York City right now, and it's a really could be a troubling situation. There are several blocks that have been evacuated because a building that is currently going from an office building to a residential building, so they're converting it, may be at risk of collapsing. So this is a 38-story building in New York City's Midtown at 235 East 42nd Street near United Nations headquarters. And just about 6 a.m. our time this morning, workers started to see structural support beams beginning to buckle and bricks started to fall from the top of the building. So right now there are several blocks that have been evacuated. In fact, our friends at News Nation, who we just spoke with, were a little late because their building is right across the street and has been evacuated in the process of this.
Wow.
37 stories in this building. We are expecting to get an update from the fire department in New York City here shortly. But as of right now, it's just evacuated, and they're just watching it to see
that's scary
what it's going to do.
Mm-hmm. I've seen some of the visual images, and you can see the beams bowing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not good.
Okay,
No.
so it makes sense because I was thinking, well, it sort of randomly starts falling apart, but the building is under some remodeling, so
Exactly.
I assume some people have done some things to change some of the architecture and structure.
Well, and especially
Who
going
knows
from
what?
an office building to a residential building,
Right.
there's a lot more different types of plumbing and gas and other things that you have to put into the building, so I don't know how that
building's
plays
not-
into it, but nobody's in the building right now, so that's a good thing. But everything in New York City is so dense that
Oh, yeah.
one building goes down, it's going
Oh,
to
yeah.
affect other buildings.
Oh, yeah.
So
All right,
we're
thanks.
watching that one.
Thanks for that breaking news
Thank you.
update.
Wow. We're literally watching that occur as it's happening, and the building's literally falling apart before our eyes. Let's hope that solves safely and that no one gets hurt. But let's shift gears and talk about the World Cup, because as of last night, the U.S. was knocked out in the knockout round.
They joined Mexico and Canada, all three host countries of this year's World Cup. Team USA lost to Belgium 4-1.
Which is a bad loss. Anyway, here's ABC's Lionel Moyes with reports.
Less than 10 minutes into the game, the Belgians struck first after the U.S. defense failed to clear the ball. About 20 minutes later, Malik Tillman scoring off a free kick for the second time in this tournament, but it would be the only bright spot in a disastrous night. Just 61 seconds later, Belgium retaking the lead. Then in the second half, the U.S. goalie mishandles the ball, setting up a third Belgian goal. The Belgians adding insult to injury, scoring a fourth goal in the final seconds of the game.
Okay, well, let's just say they went in mad.
Yeah, and
they were highly motivated.
They had every reason to. I think this was a really troubling event that occurred right before the game, and that is that the U.S. team member who had been given, his name is Folarin Balogun. He was a striker, and he's apparently an incredibly good player, one of the top players.
I don't even know what a striker is, but he was on the team. He got a red card.
Right. He strikes the ball. But anyway, he's more of a scorer.
Okay.
The guy that gets up there and scores. Anyway, he had received a red card at the previous game I don't remember who they played. It doesn't matter. But anyway, it was Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Right.
And as a result of that, when your person gets a red card, they are suspended for the subsequent game. They're suspended for the rest of the game they're playing in and all of the next game. So he couldn't play at all. And in a completely unprecedented move, our president contacted FIFA's leader, the governing body over the World Cup soccer, and said, hey, would you take a look at this? It doesn't seem right. The leader of FIFA did take a look at it and said, hey, we're going to overturn this. It's never happened. It's never happened that FIFA just jumps in and says, hey, we're going to overturn this. This is Gianni Infantino. He's the FIFA boss. And the Belgian team went nuts. They criticized the decision, said it's unprecedented, incomprehensible, unjustifiable, and they certainly took it out on the U.S. team afterwards.
Well, like I said,
4-1.
they were highly motivated when they went in. And look, they were already favored before you got this controversy. And there were even mixed messages, I think, coming from the president. Everything from, hey, I don't know anything about soccer, to I'm an expert in soccer, to I don't know what was happening. I don't even know what a red card is, to that clearly was not a foul. I mean, there wasn't even consistent messaging, but the end result was Belgium came in, kicked our rear ends, and we're out.
Yeah, and even though they were favored, Belgium isn't a great team. They're the 5th-ranked team in Europe. So, I mean, but the Americas teams have not done particularly well. Canada, Mexico, and now the United States, which co-hosted the games. All 3 countries have had some events, are all 3 out now, and we're still in the round of 16. So this was it's been an interesting World Cup because a lot of good teams have lost, but a lot of the Americas teams have lost.
Do you remember I talked to you about Cabo Verde? In fact, we should have asked Senator Mikel about it because he was cheering for them. They were out in the last round. They made it to the knockout round and then they lost, but they've been treated as heroes, right, going home. But I wanted to say this. So Belgium, not only were they highly motivated going into this, but they couldn't resist poking the U.S. in the eye a little bit afterwards.
Oh, sure.
They posted, this is from their official team account on X, pictures of them winning and then say, overturn this.
No, it was an unfortunate thing. And just as a sports fan myself, I was disappointed at not our president. He did what he thought was right, but I was disappointed at FIFA's president for saying, oh, yeah, we're going to overturn this because it's not something that occurs. I mean, I know we're the host nation. It's a big game. He's one of our top players. All those things occurred. But talk about, when you deal with sports and the 2 teams are getting ready, the one thing you want to avoid at all costs is some reason to give the other team some momentum, something that angers them, something that they could post on the locker room wall.
Yeah,
they talk
absolutely,
about,
right? Yep,
and once that happened, that team was probably more motivated than they had ever been.
Oh yeah,
and they were not going to lose that game. And 4-1, and of course there were some issues over U.S. The way that our defense was holding up. I think they had it tied at 1-1 at one point, but then it just went south from there. And a goal scored in the last minute. Ouch, adding some insult to our injury.
Well, I mean, I don't know. The president, before they played the game, said, well, if Belgium wins, then we'll say that it was stolen, just like the 2020 election. So I don't know. 4-1 sounds pretty decisive, especially in the soccer world.
Belgium, like you said, says overturn this.
Right.
So,
that's exactly.
So they're moving on. The U.S. is moving home. The World Cup continues right here on U.S. soil, and we'll be watching it closely. So we're down to and I don't know all the teams at this point, but we're going to be very shortly down to the round of 8 that will be left, which are the semifinals or quarterfinals. And nonetheless, we're down to the sort of getting down to the very few most elite teams that are remaining. They seem to play about once a week, so we're probably 3 or 4 weeks away from getting a champion. But Belgium's moving on.
So there are 2 teams that 2 games that we played today. So 4 teams that will play to determine the quarterfinal. So we already have 2 games set in the quarterfinals, and then we'll have 2 more set after the games that are played today. But Norway and England are going to play each other on July 11th, which I'm interested in that one because Norway and England both knocked out teams that they weren't expected to.
Right.
And then Norway is the one that has done the rowing, right? So the rowing motions, and you've seen kindergartners and senior centers. And after they won their game the other day, you even saw the Norwegian military all over the nation, and even on ships and in planes doing this Norwegian row.
Yeah, and I think that the U.S. loves an underdog, and they'll probably embrace a certain team from this point forward.
Yeah.
Norway seems
so
like...
Norway beat Brazil, and England beat Mexico.
Yeah, so they both beat very good teams that were probably favored to beat them. I think we'll embrace Norway. Who knows? It'll be fun to watch. But yeah, there are not a lot of games left, and then we'll have a world champion for the World Cup. I do have to say this. We're taking a little bit of criticism with the U.S. team to make it to the round that they did. I think was good. They came out of their group.
I have no criticism of the team,
and they won one knockout game. So they did very well. I think if you go into the World Cup and say the U.S. will play in the round of 16, they would have taken that and said we will be more than happy to get ourselves in the round of 16, and they did.
And they did, yeah.
So it's a good.
I have no criticism of the team.
Yeah, it's a good showing for the U.S. And when a lot more games to be played, a lot more fun, and we'll see where this goes. But we're going to go down to the Provo courtroom where the man who is accused of killing Charlie Kirk is on trial. Having his preliminary hearing for another day. We'll go in depth into what that means when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a campus of a controversial school in Utah County has had its license revoked after a flurry of legal challenges. KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott has details.
The Utah Department of Health and Human Services announced last night that they have revoked the license of the Provo Canyon School's campus in Springville after a string of issues with noncompliance. In a letter to the school, the DHHS cites things like failing to treat clients with dignity and respect, failing to keep clients safe from physical harm, and unnecessarily restraining clients. The Provo Canyon School is a teen behavioral health center that has been the subject of some pretty widespread scrutiny after Paris Hilton says she was gravely mistreated during her time there.
In a statement to KSL, Hilton said, quote, "The little girl in me who was told she would never be believed feels so validated today." Our top national story this hour from ABC News, President Trump is in Turkey attending NATO meetings right now, and he was asked if he was going to allow Turkey to start buying F-35 fighter jets.
We have a very good relationship. I would think that many people, I can tell you, many people, including the people sitting right here, thinks, why wouldn't we do that? We have a better relationship with Turkey, and Turkey's been in many ways much more loyal than other countries that we think would be loyal.
The president says security and control of the Strait of Hormuz will be his top priorities in today's meetings. Your money at this moment, the Dow right now is down 179 points. That's about 0.3%. We're at 52,878. Coming up, a few more pop-up storms today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I was called out on a case in the burbs. A pretty little house, nice landscaping. The owner was obviously upset.
It's horrible. Look.
Scandalous, to say the least. There it was. A brand new oak tree, dead as a doornail. But why?
I only bought it from the nursery a few months ago.
I stepped over the chalk line and dug down to investigate. Sure enough, circling roots. Like most nursery pots, this one, it caused the roots to spiral around the tree. It was death by strangulation. You should have bought a super tree, I said.
Super tree?
Super trees are grown in special air pods to promote superior root development and prevent roots from circling. Super trees grow faster, stronger, and have better foliage, she said.
My landscaping will never be the same.
I tipped my hat and said, Case closed.
Visit Supertrees and receive 10% off. Supertrees at the Riverton Nursery, 2767 West, 126 South, or online at supertrees.com.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. And here's Cormac Bone.
Still trouble in Santaquin, northbound I-15, just after Main Street. That crash still only letting one lane through, and heavy delays reaching through Santaquin on North 15. But otherwise, I-15 delays really clearing out all through Utah County, maybe a little slow as you come down the hill from the point of the mountain and approach Bangerter Highway. And at the south interchange, North 15 still seeing some slowdowns from 7200 south up to 5300 south. In Davis County, almost all your roadways really completely cleared out on your way into Salt Lake, though. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're going to see some more pop-up thunderstorms this afternoon with a high of 96. Pretty much the same on Wednesday, but by Friday we hit the 100-degree mark and stay above triple digits through at least Monday. Right now, it's partly cloudy and 85 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, it's day 2 of the preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson, started about an hour ago. You might recall he's the man charged with shooting and killing political influencer Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University last fall.
So with this preliminary hearing, the prosecution is trying to convince the judge to move this ahead to trial, but the defense is objecting to every single thing that they present.
I think they have like a standing objection to everything. But before we talk about the hearing, let's get an update on what happened at day 1 of the preliminary hearing.
So KSL News Radio's Heather Peterson was at the courthouse in Provo all day yesterday. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Yes.
She joins us now live in studio. So tell us, just first of all, what was it like being there outside the courtroom, and maybe why were you not in the courtroom?
So, first of all, it was wild. Like, a media frenzy would be like an understatement. There was probably 50 news crews there.
Wow.
And yeah, you know, everyone's just like trying so hard to catch a glimpse of Erica Kirk, who was there. Donald Trump Jr. was supposed to be in the courtroom. I never saw him outside the courtroom, so I don't know if he was taking some secret pathways into the courthouse. But yeah, everyone, really wanting to get in on this case and see what's going on. But apparently, only 14 people from the general public were allowed inside. People were lining up, I heard, at 1 a.m. to get a wristband to get into the courtroom, and so security was really tight. Lots of security around the building. It was wild.
You know, just watching the video, Heather, from my perspective as an attorney, it looks like any other hearing. But, I mean, we're only seeing the front couple rows. But I guess behind that, there's more and more people. And then outside the courtroom, there's even more. And then outside the building, there's an even broader presence of media and everything else.
Well, if you didn't have a purpose, you weren't allowed even in the courthouse.
Right.
Like, security was very tight. So, the decorum orders for the camera was that you have to stay on the witness, on the judge, no panning out to see the evidence and the videos that were being shown in court, to see the victim's family, anything like that. So it was very strict.
So from your perspective yesterday, you were outside so that you could keep doing live updates, which was really helpful. What was it that stood out about day 1?
Honestly, day one, it was a little bit dry for those who were watching. It was a lot of just laying the foundation. They talked to one of the UVU police officers who was there the day of the shooting, and he kind of just talked about the layout of campus and where everyone was and where they believe the sniper was perched at the time of the shooting. And then the other person that they had on the stand was the lead investigator from the State Bureau of Investigation, who talked about all the video that they obtained. But they didn't show the video. They want to keep that for trial. And so that was only for the judge's eyes and the witness's eyes, and it was kept from the public. But yeah, so... and then the other thing, as you kind of mentioned, Greg, the defense was on it, just objecting to literally every video. They had a standing objection to everything, saying that that we didn't have the actual person who took the video in the courtroom to testify that it was real. So this is all hearsay coming from this investigator, and the prosecution just had the investigator testify to all their evidence.
Wow.
And so they were saying that's all hearsay. So it was just a lot of objections, a lot of location, orientation, just stuff like that. So not a lot of juicy nuggets were revealed during day one.
Yeah, but I think, Heather, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree. I think the state sort of has to come in and lay a little foundation so that when their other witnesses start testifying, that the judge will have in his mind, okay, they're talking about this building, they're talking about this location, they're talking about that. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I know it's painful to watch that. That's why you don't have courtroom. Videotape.
It doesn't resolve in 2 hours like with a movie. I can't believe it.
Well, and I think, too, this is just such a case with national attention. People are expecting like these salacious, inner details to be revealed, and it wasn't that day one, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So
conspiracy theories continue to abound.
Yes.
I wondered about the videos. So I saw online that there were 3 videos of Charlie Kirk shooting that were submitted as evidence in court. Mm-hmm. And you said it wasn't, they weren't broadcast for everybody to be able to see. Were they all accepted by the judge?
They were accepted by the judge, and he witnessed them.
Okay.
So they basically turned the courtroom cameras away from the video so that the judge could see it and the witness could view it and verify, yes, this is the video we're talking about. And they turned the sound off for, I think, 2/3 of the videos. And so they were submitted to the court, but they weren't, submitted to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Is it the record? Is that?
Yes. Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So it's part of the record that will be, this is the state as that's laying out its case, saying, look, this is what we have as evidence also.
Right. It did seem that it was moving very slowly yesterday, Heather. I mean, it picked up a little bit after our show ended. We heard more evidence that came through. I heard autopsy evidence, but you indicated that it was just the autopsy report. It was here. The investigator just talked about what the report says,
right, yeah.
which is hearsay, but it's admissible at a preliminary hearing.
Yeah. So no medical examiner was there, but he just talked about what the medical examiner report said, that lead investigator that I spoke of. But yeah, we did learn a couple things, like the investigator talked about how they saw, once Tyler Robinson turned himself in and they verified what car was registered to Tyler Robinson, then they were able to use that information to then spot him in video surveillance footage from campus 4 times that day. So I mean, there was certain tidbits there that that they did place him at the scene and that kind of stuff, but again, nothing revolutionary that people didn't already know if they've been following the case pretty closely.
I think I saw that there was a sniper nest. I hadn't heard that described before.
Yeah. The former UVU officer that was there that day, he said he went up to the Losi building, and in the gravel there was imprints of what looked like elbows, knees, that kind of stuff. So he called it a sniper's pad or a sniper's perch, and that's why they believe that the shot came from there.
Yeah.
So
I know that there was one objection that was sustained. Can you tell us about that one? It had to do with an edited video.
Oh, yes. So yeah, one of the videos that was submitted, the prosecution had zoomed in and kind of circled, I believe probably what they believed was Tyler Robinson,
right.
the sniper. So because that video was edited, the judge didn't feel comfortable admitting it as it was. So that was actually at the end of day one when they decided to call it for the day, because the prosecution said, well, we can't provide the raw video at this point. We don't have it on hand. We've been using this edited video that's zoomed in and has, highlighted marks and circles. So that was supposed to be resubmitted this morning. And
the raw video.
The raw video.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about today after we come back, but is today a continuation of the early investigative officers? I mean, we haven't gotten much past that, have we?
No. That state investigator is back on the stand this morning. He's there right now. They didn't lay out their plan for who else was going to be taking the stand today, so I'm not sure what other evidence is going to come. But yeah, we're going to continue hearing from that lead investigator.
So, what stood out to you as a reporter, just like the overall?
I think that, just laying the foundation for the case. I think also just having his family present in the courtroom. I think that there's so many conspiracy theories out there that this really gives legitimacy to the fact that, they believe that they're hearing the case firsthand to get the real facts and see if it does line up with Tyler Robinson and if that's their guy. And so there was a lot of emotion on their faces, and both his mom and his wife, Charlie Kirk's mom and wife, came in with sunglasses, very somber. And, I just think that this case is being taken really seriously on the local level, on the national level by the family. And there's just a lot of weight that's coming down on this case.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Heather. That's Heather Peterson, KSL News reporter, KSL News radio reporter. So we're going to follow up, as we mentioned, with what's going on in the courtroom today. We're going to check in with the Tyler Robinson hearing next on Inside Sources.
That sound, it's not a clock. It's how long you've been thinking about updating your kitchen. 6 months, a year, maybe longer. Same countertops, same frustration, same someday. Here's the truth. Doing nothing costs more than you think. Because every day you walk past a space that doesn't match the home you want. Bedrock Quartz changes that fast. With over 100 in-stock stone options, transparent pricing, and a team that installs quickly and gets it right the first time. You can stop waiting and start enjoying your home. Get started now by visiting bedrockquartz.com or stop by any of the convenient Bedrock Quartz showrooms. Bedrock Quartz, your vision, our precision.
Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone saying you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's the real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half, plus try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. No commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, whatever else you can do with your phone, all for half the price and none of the commitment. That means you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Wild. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to xfinitymobile.com, or visit your local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes, fees extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only after 12 months. Regular rates apply. Go to xfinitymobile.com.
Well, college football might feel like it's still a little ways out, but Big 12 Media Days are already underway, and the Utah teams are showing up in full force. Don't miss Utah's Morning News tomorrow with Andy and Amanda as they talk with Utes insider Steve Bartle. He'll preview Utah football at 8:45 a.m., and our thanks to the Stern team powered by Omada Real Estate for making this special coverage happen.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Mom and Dad used to argue about everything, especially about Dad's drinking. It drove me crazy. It got so bad, I couldn't do my homework. I couldn't concentrate. I absolutely refused to let any of my friends come to our house for any reason. I would have been humiliated if anyone found out how much my dad drank and how loud my mom screamed at him. My family went from totally crazy to quiet, calm, and even peaceful. The only thing that happened is my mom started going to Al-Anon family groups. Her relationship with my dad really changed. I asked Mom if she would take me to her Al-Anon meetings or to Alateen. I wanted to see if I could have a better relationship with my dad. I'm sure glad I did. If someone's drinking troubling you, you might be surprised at what you can learn in an Al-Anon or Alateen family group from people just like you. Call 1-888-4-AL-ANON or go to alanon.org.
911, tell me exactly what happened. My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk is back in a Utah courtroom today as the prosecution continues to try to convince a judge to move Tyler Robinson's murder case on to trial.
So the whole thing is scheduled to last 5 days, and yesterday I was wondering how it could take 5 days.
We're learning, aren't we?
I don't really wonder anymore.
Yeah, we're starting to see why, because they're still on the first or second witness. And the court is now, of course, in recess. Started yesterday at 9. Today it started at 9. I think they have a half day tomorrow. They just go in the afternoon, and they hope to wrap up this week. But it reminds me of a case I did when I was a prosecutor. It wasn't nearly at this level, but it was a very high-profile case. Actually, they did a TV movie about it. It was the Altiview Hospital murder.
I remember that case.
So I prosecuted that case, and what I remember about that was the preliminary hearing. Just as we're going through this, and I know I'm digressing a little bit, but we had dozens and dozens of photographs that we were trying to get in, and I was assigned the witness with the photographs, and I just remember how painful it was to go through every photograph and every single thing, and I just thought, man, this is taking a long time, but we had to do it. It was a death penalty case, and it was a high profile case, and I remember the media was there, and they were looking over our shoulders trying to get copies of what was on our screen, trying to get copies of the video of the exhibits that we were looking at, and it was just it pales in comparison to Tyler Robinson. Don't get me wrong, but when I watched this proceeding and thought how slow it was going and how the public might be concerned, I thought, well, that's life. I mean, that's how you have to do things, because a preliminary hearing is such an important proceeding in the process that both sides kind of just get to do it once. It's not like the judge can say, oh, let's have another preliminary hearing. That doesn't happen absent some outrageous or sort of really outstanding legal issue. So the state gets to put on their case. They either put it on or they don't. The defense gets to cross-examine witnesses. They'll probably never have another chance to do that. They may be able to interview them informally,
Right.
but having witnesses on the stand, having them swear to tell the truth, and having
Right.
them under oath and recorded only happens once. So this hearing is important if this case goes to trial. Actually, it's important whether it goes to trial or not. So, I mean, I thought 5 days was too much. Now I think it's probably about right.
So I'm going to give you an update, and I because the courtroom itself is actually on recess, but I want to say Erica Kirk is back again. Her parents are not there today. I mean, his parents. Sorry, Charlie Kirk's parents are not
right.
there today. But returning to the stand was David Hull. He's a police agent who was one of the lead investigators, and he was working for the State Bureau of Investigation. And one of the things that they introduced, and so we had talked about it with Heather, was the surveillance video that had been edited. And so now they have the raw footage, and the judge allowed it to be broadcast. So security footage that was played in court showed a man that police say is Tyler Robinson arriving around 8:30 a.m. on the day of the shooting. And then David Hull, the agent, testified that Robinson went to an amphitheater and interacted with members of Charlie Kirk's group, Turning Point USA, before leaving. So interesting, right? That was something interesting that I didn't know he had interacted with Turning Point USA. So one of the things they see from the video too, and I'm looking at a New York Times just like live feed of what they talked about this morning before our show. Seconds after the shooting, a man police say is Tyler Robinson was running. They could be seen running along the top of a campus building, the Losi building, before dropping down on the grass. I think we had seen some of that back in September. So he also, Robinson, made contact with a police officer when he drove back up to the campus at 12:30 a.m. on September 11th. Do you remember, if I remember correctly, that was about the time he was trying to go recover the rifle, and he wasn't able to. Police had gotten to it beforehand. So one of the things that these reporters are saying is there are two things that they learned from the testimony today. Robinson made contact with Turning Point USA representatives on campus before the shooting. And then hours later, while the entire state was searching for the killer, Robinson had an encounter with an officer near the campus that raised enough suspicion that the officer actually took down his license plate number.
Yeah, and that was, in hindsight, very helpful and very valuable, and it's going to be. So if I were to just surmise why the case is proceeding the way it is, you put on the evidence of the homicide, and you put on evidence of the surveillance and the things that were going on, and then they'll start pinpointing how they got to Tyler Robinson. They'll start focusing in on him as the individual, because we know there was a homicide. We know there was a shooting. We know that an individual was perched up there.
Wait, do we know it was a murder?
We know it was a murder.
Okay.
Absolutely, we know it was a murder.
Because you taught me there's a difference.
Yeah, no, it's not an alleged murder. It's a murder. It's an alleged murder by Tyler Robinson.
Right.
But there's a murder. There's no question about that. So, and I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. But then so they're establishing that, and then they're going to start focusing on how it is that they can show that Tyler Robinson is the one who did this, because what we've got is surveillance of an individual.
Yeah.
We've got prints in the sand of an individual who is perched down doing his sniper routine. They've got him talking to people. They've got him talking to a police officer. So they're getting closer. They're starting to circle the nets that this is Tyler Robinson.
Right.
And I think that the coup de grace for the state will be a confession that he made, allegedly made, both to his roommate and maybe to his own father, to his religious leader, whoever else were turning him in. But once they focus on him and they can get that confession in, I think that they've established what they need for probable cause to get this bound over to go to trial. Now, the defense is fighting everything, which I think is a little bit silly, but and including a lot of the photographs, because the photographs don't have to be, you don't have to have the person who took the photograph identify the photograph. I mean, if I took a picture of the studio here
and you came in a couple days later and I showed it to you, you'd say, that's the KSL studio.
Right.
It doesn't matter who took it. If you recognize it, if
Yeah.
you say that's sure an accurate representation of the studio, then it's admissible. So I don't understand the logic that they have to fight all these exhibits. I guess I can appreciate the video coming in that's been altered or edited, although even then, if let's say that we alter the picture of this studio and block out some of the walls, and you say, yeah, it looks like the
Sure.
studio, but they blacked out some walls, then it's admissible. So I guess we're being overly cautious, and that's an impossible thing. I shouldn't have even said that. It's a death penalty case. You have to be as cautious as you can be.
So I am seeing that, yesterday it went all day. Today is scheduled to go all day as well. That they do expect that maybe there will be discussion about the alleged murder weapon, that notes to the roommate may surface. They do expect to put on the stand, besides David Hull, who has been on the stand this morning, they expect to put on the stand Utah investigators Brian Davis and Jen Faumuina, as they were prosecutors there. So Utah Public Safety is Jen. She's been with a sergeant with the Utah Department of Public Safety. So that could be interesting testimony as well as they start to, as you said, lay out this case. Now, there's one thing you keep saying. If it goes to trial, why are you saying that?
Well, I mean, cases don't always go to trial. They sometimes get resolved, and this case could very well be resolved. Who knows what that looks like? I mean, it's a death penalty case, so the defense can't say, yeah, he'll stipulate to the death penalty. I mean, you have nothing to lose by if the state says this is a death penalty case, it's going to trial, period. If the state says we're willing to plea bargain it down to something, what that something would be and whether the defense would accept that remain to be seen. Is this a case that could be resolved by some sort of life without the possibility of parole? I don't know whether the state would be willing to drop to that level or whether the defense would be willing to come up to that level, because that's a compromise. But that's a compromise that will be considered and will be talked about by at least one party, and maybe both.
So it's super interesting. As I was preparing stories for the Utah Policy newsletter today, I saw on News Nation that there was another attorney, not named Greg Skordas, who said he doesn't think it will ever go to trial. And he said if he were the defense attorneys, he would invest in knee pads because they would be kneeling in front of the court begging them to take a plea.
Yeah, well, get your ceremonial knee pads and beg the prosecution to offer you a plea. That may well happen. I don't know if it will, but the prosecution's putting on their best case to show the world that they do have a strong case. Well, coming up in Inside Sources, that's good that I'm not the only person who feels that way.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. What's it like living near a data center? KSL Investigates traveled to Virginia, a place known as Data Center Alley, to find out. We'll talk about that after the break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, Utahns are skipping doctor's visits and delaying picking up medications because of how much medical treatments cost.
43% of adults in Utah say they have had their medical care impacted by cost in the last year. That's according to the Deseret News poll that also found those rates go up the younger the patient is. Just 18% of people 65 and older said they have had to cut back on prescriptions or delay seeing a doctor. For people 18 to 34, that was 57%. This is higher than the national rate, with a Gallup poll revealing 1/3 of Americans cut back their lifestyle to pay for medical treatments, not just skipping appointments, but borrowing money, driving less, and using less utilities. Cameron Elliott, KSL News Radio.
St. George is looking to establish Utah's first new community bank in almost 20 years. The FDIC and Utah Department of Financial Institutions have given conditional approval for the Bank of St. George. Its headquarters will be in downtown St. George with a loan production office in Salt Lake City. It should be open by the end of the year. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, Walmart is promising greater accountability to make sure delivery drivers get their pay.
Walmart home delivery drivers had complained that they weren't given their promised base pay or tips from customers. Now thousands of those delivery people are getting a share of millions of dollars in settlements reached between Walmart, federal regulators, and the attorneys general in a dozen states. The retailer also is promising greater transparency in its Spark Driver program.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow right now is off 177 points. That's about 0.3%. We're at 52,875. Coming up, we do have a few more storms passing through today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
You're in charge of ordering boxes. Small boxes, really big boxes. You're in charge of tape, labels, mailers, bubble wrap, extra bubble wrap. Just for fun. You're in charge of warehouse cleaning and safety supplies. Good thing there's Uline. Thousands of quality products for your business and warehouse needs, always in stock, ready to ship same day, and backed by Uline's legendary 24/7 customer service. Uline makes it easy because you already do enough. Uline, we warehouse for you.
Right now, JCW's has 15 bus and billboards depicting our delicious, mouthwatering hamburgers across I-15. We've also just learned that I-15 averages 15 fender benders a day. Probably a coincidence, but just in case, keep your eyes on the road. Here's what our burgers sound like. Now, with your hands at 10 and 2, safely turn into one of our 5 locations in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Hi, how can I help?
Well, my husband and I feel like we've outgrown our current money manager.
I see.
Our lives have changed, and we need something more than just mutual funds to help us in retirement.
She's right. I hear that often. At Fisher Investments, we'd start by getting to know you, your finances, family, health, lifestyle. We tailor a portfolio around your goals and needs.
Sounds good. Can you help with estate planning?
Yes. We have a team of specialists who can help you with estate planning, Social Security, investment income, and more. We'll get to know your whole financial picture and help keep you on the path to a comfortable retirement.
And your fees?
We have a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of the value of your portfolio. So we do better when you do better.
I feel better already.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves a risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. And here's Cormac Bone.
Delays that we had in Santaquin are completely cleared off as the crash has now been cleaned up. Just a little leftover delay northbound I-15 in Linden. That's from just about 800 north, reaching up toward Pleasant Grove Boulevard. And then you're in the clear all the way into Salt Lake. And then we have some light northbound I-15 delays approaching 600 north in Weber and Davis counties. All your major freeways looking clean and clear. Use your Cypress Rewards Visa this summer and earn 2 times points on gas and groceries. Redeem points for cash back, gift cards, and more. Visit cypresscu.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
96 today, 97 tomorrow, and we could see some pop-up storms both days. Then on Friday, we get to 100 and stay in triple digits until at least Monday. Right now, partly cloudy and 84 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, data centers continue to be all the rage right now. We saw the role of the incoming Stratus data center in Box Elder County actually played a big role in the recent primaries. And people here in Utah and really across the nation have some pretty strong feelings about these projects.
So KSL Investigates dug into the data centers, and it's still data that exist around the country, including a massive cluster of them in Virginia and a place called Data Center Alley.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk with KSL investigator Danielle Rivera, who went to Virginia for this investigation. So why there? Because they have this data center alley?
Yeah, this is the highest concentration of data centers on the planet.
Wow.
In Loudoun County, Virginia.
Wow.
So we, in watching what's happening here with our project in Box Elder, we wanted to go somewhere to a community that has a lot more experience than we do here. And where better than Loudoun County, Virginia, the data center capital of the world?
So a couple of things. Can you situate, I don't know geography in Virginia super well. Where is this county located? Maybe in relation to like the nation's capital or something?
It's very close to the Dulles Airport.
Oh.
So it's like half an hour from DC proper. So it's a very highly sought after area to live. These are expensive homes.
Oh, wow.
It's the wealthiest county in America.
Oh,
It
wow.
comes up on a lot of those lists we'll see every so often. So that's Loudoun County.
Okay, well, here's my second question. So in Utah, we have 48 data centers right now. How many does Loudoun County have?
Right now, Loudoun County, Virginia has 253 data centers on the ground and several more under construction. There actually has not been a time in the last 16 years in Loudoun County that a data center was not under construction.
Wow.
So describe these. I mean, they're not like 40,000 acres in the middle of the county like we're thinking about in Box Elder. I mean, what are these data centers like? Are they, if you saw them, is it like a building or a
Yeah, so the
structure?
words used by the people who live there are gray, faceless, humanless concrete buildings. And the metaphor we worked with for last night's story, which was part one of this series, we're doing Beyond Box Elder, the bet on data centers. In last night's story, I likened them to the mountains on a drive through Utah. I don't want to offend anyone. Our mountains are stunning and they're beautiful. But how many times do we drive to work and we don't really stop and notice the beauty of the mountains? They're just there, right? We take them for granted a little bit. We shouldn't, but we do. And that's like the best metaphor I could come up with for these, because we leave our hotel room that morning and I was like, oh, there's a data center. Oh, there's another one. They're just there. And they're just there in the background. It's not a place you can go to. It's not really, I mean, we had a hard time even finding a place to park and get video of them.
Wow.
They're not super accessible, but they're just there. They're in the background. One person I interviewed joked that when he has family come to visit, he says, well, do you want to drive around and look at the data centers? Because that is their landscape there.
Wow. Are they all big? Do they vary in size? Like, what are these buildings like?
Yeah, they vary in size, but they look like a large, big concrete warehouse. Some of them even look like, the way from far away it looks like they're windows, but when you get up close, you're like, those aren't windows. That's just the design on the building. They're big concrete buildings.
Wow.
Did you get the sense that the locals were supportive of it and just that it's a fact of life now in that particular county?
Certainly, I got the sense that they're very used to it. It is their normal.
Yeah.
But there are areas where this industry has so expanded there that it's gone beyond typically industrial areas and pushed right into neighborhoods. The one we really featured last night is, it's a data center and then across the street a residential neighborhood. And so where we see that push between industry and community, I think, is that friction. That's where we hear the complaints from people saying, this has gone too far. I didn't intend to have a next door neighbor be a data center.
Right. So one of the things, of course, out here in Utah, and certainly it's been a concern with the Stratos data center in Box Elder County, is water. I'm guessing maybe that's not as much of an issue in Virginia.
I wouldn't say. I'm always hesitant to compare bodies of water and need, because
Sure.
the Great Salt Lake
Sure.
is critical for our very survival
Right.
as a state. The Potomac River there is endangered. So I don't want to say one's more than the other, but water is a concern for them.
Is there a bigger concern that those residents have?
Their biggest concern right now that I understand, especially coming from an interview with the vice chair of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, is power. Their grid is stressed to the max, to the point that they've even said, okay, like we aren't letting, these additional data centers connect to the grid until we build out more power capacity. So, for example, the data center we featured in last night's story, when neighbors heard it was going to be put in, a lot of them told us, like, I didn't really think much of it. They were concerned about traffic, and they thought, well, great, there won't be a lot of traffic with this, neighbor. There's not going to be a lot of cars coming and going, and that is the case. However, that data center was not able to connect to the electric grid, so what they did instead to come online in early 2025 was they turned on 8 natural gas turbines. So they are powered entirely by natural gas turbines right now, and that is where all the noise is coming from that this neighborhood is hearing 24/7. It never stops. They hear it in their homes. One woman said, I heard it over my TV program last night.
Wow.
So
that humming.
Buzzing, and they said, that wasn't originally part of the plan, but it's a symptom of what we're seeing, the resources needed being stressed to the max. That plant will eventually, we're told, connect to the grid. And at that point, you would think that the noise would go away. But for now, it's an everyday constant that these folks are living with.
So I don't know if you asked your the people you interviewed there this at all, but I know that there can be health impacts to people who are subjected to basically nonstop noise, even if it's quote unquote white noise. Has anybody talked about, I'm considering moving because I just can't take it anymore?
Of the folks we talked to, no one said they were considering moving. They definitely said it would have changed the way they thought about purchasing their property because, they were here first. They weren't planning on this. I think they're really in a, let's see what we can. Let's push. Let's make noise. I know they've gone to court, to say this is a nuisance. The problem is, it's measured, the decibel, it's below the county's limit. Of course, that noise limit you set is for
really
parties.
Loud noises.
Yeah. But this is a constant. Even though it's low, it's never going away. And so as far as health impacts, one woman told me, when she traveled, she left and was like, oh, this is what my life is supposed to feel like, the quiet.
Wow.
And then as she returned to her neighborhood and she could hear the high-pitched whine, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm back in this place where I lived, and this was not what I intended. But it was crazy to hear her talk about getting away from it for a little while, just like on a vacation. She realizes, she said, I feel like this is what life is supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
But she has been hearing this data center since it went online in early 2025.
Wow.
And did you say, we only got about 30 seconds left, that they're building more even now in that county?
There are several more under construction now, but they're to the point. They ended by right development of land for data centers because their population is at they are at their tolerance level.
Yeah.
They're pretty much done with new data centers at this point.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation with you, Daniela, after the break, so stay with us.
Sounds good.
Some time ago, I talked to some of the folks here at KSL about ways that they could that they have been successful in losing weight, because I thought I needed to lose a little bit, just turning 60 plus. I got to the point where I couldn't get it off myself, and so I thought I'd get with somebody that knew what they were doing. They said, contact SOTA, SOTA Diet Nutrition. It's an easy program, no medication, no injections, no guessing what to eat, no generic meal plans, no calorie counting. You stay full, you have energy, you feel like you have control again, and it has absolutely worked for me. In 7 weeks, I lost 30 pounds, and in the 3 months since I started the program, I've maintained that weight, and I can believe that I will continue to maintain that weight forever, because it's, even though they have short-term results, they have results that last a lifetime. And what I have is a nutritionist who's been very good with me, talks to me about things to eat, tells me where to go to buy the food. I don't have to buy it through SOTA. I can just buy it at my grocery store, and it's been great. SOTA Diet Nutrition. Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. Say it with me. SOTA is state of the art.
There's nothing better than getting outside with the people you love. And in Utah, we have endless ways to stay active and healthy outdoors. But staying healthy also means staying safe. Intermountain Health recommends that you wear the right gear, stay hydrated, protect your skin, and plan ahead before you go. Know your limits and choose activities that keep it safe and fun for everyone. Because when you make health and safety a part of every adventure, you're taking care of what matters most: your life, your health.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Your coffee would never get cold. Your flight would always be on time. And your mattress would always respond to you and your unique sleep needs. Sleep Number mattresses are designed to respond to your body and shift with your changing life, helping you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
My friend Joey means well.
Always remember that the early bird gathers no moss.
But he gets a little confused.
You know, you can't make a silk purse out of a wooden nickel.
Like Joey, many of us can be confused when it comes time to plan for retirement. When to take Social Security, how to use that 401k, what about the stock market, taxes, and Medicare? Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management can help to simplify retirement planning. His goal is to have you walk into retirement with confidence, not worry, and to address the number one concern among retirees today, the fear of running out of money. Call Galileo Wealth today for a no-cost, no-obligation meeting to talk about the details of your retirement. 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000. Or online, GalileoWealth.com. And remember,
one man's trash is thicker than water. Of course, water's not thick at all. It's watery.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency? Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
KSL investigators recently traveled to Loudoun County, Virginia, otherwise known as Data Center Alley, to find out what it's like to live next to a data center, or in the case of those living in Loudoun County, what it's like to live near more than 200 data centers.
And the biggest complaint apparently is the noise. We're continuing our deep dive into this massive KSL investigation with investigator Daniela Rivera. Thanks for sticking around.
Me.
Did you hear the noise? Were you there where you could perceive the noise and the buzz that's coming off of these?
Yes, I did. We were in the neighborhood several times over the course of the 2 days we were on the ground in Loudoun County. Every time I heard the noise, and we conducted all the interviews in neighbors in their front yards. And so we heard the noise during all our conversations. We'd walk to the end of the block. We'd, walk with them to the thing, and we heard it the whole time we were in the neighborhood. It never stopped.
I don't know if you had a chance to ask anybody about this. Does it chase wildlife away? Did the birds go away because of the noise?
Actually, it was interesting. Someone did talk about how they feel like the wildlife has been pushed away because this was like a wooded forest area before it was developed. So yeah, of course they lost wildlife. And one woman told me when they started construction, they had a really bad rat problem and mice problem because all that wildlife was moving into homes nearby.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Yikes.
Oops.
So interesting. Look, one of the questions that I have, of course, is what was the common thread really with the residents that you talked to about lessons Utah could learn from data centers in Virginia?
Certainly. I, reached out to all of these people before we went there and said, look, we have a big project under development here in Utah. We want to learn what you learn from you.
Mhm.
Will you give us some of your time? And I was really just surprised and grateful for how giving people were of their time. And one woman said to me, I'm only meeting with you because I want people to know the risks associated with these facilities before they're built. There was a sentiment that once they're there, it is harder to have mitigation. I mean, they're going on over a year of this noise. And then, the kind of the resounding theme was people saying, I wish I'd been more involved. I wish I'd paid more attention sooner. I wish I'd known what questions to ask. These folks didn't know natural gas turbines were going to be used to power the facility. They didn't know that. They didn't know to ask about noise. And so the company that built the facility had a community meeting with them, but they didn't know what to ask. And so all of them were just saying, really encouraging Utahns. Everyone had advice for Utah, and it was learn, research, arm yourself with data and knowledge, and start thinking about data center specific regulations, because they're finding the county noise ordinance. Well, this data center doesn't violate it, yet it is, you could say, violating their lives every day with this noise they're hearing in their homes. And so they hadn't thought about specific data center regulations, and they encouraged, do that now. If and they also said, we're not going to be the only ones. They said, you might think you're so far out, but eventually you will have a data center near you. It's coming. So start thinking about how you can have a say in how the development happens.
It seems, Daniela, that the one that is being proposed in Box Elder County is somewhat rural and separated from neighborhoods and homes. And maybe some of these questions don't apply. I mean, ultimately, there are going to be some residents and buildings around there. But did the people that you talked to indicate that it affected their home values or property values or anything like that? Or I mean, certainly, they build a prison next to your house, it's going to knock down your property value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are certain things that you just don't want in your neighborhood. I just wondered if they said anything about that.
When I asked them about that, I would say remains to be seen, because you have to remember we're also in a housing crisis in many areas. This is a highly desirable area. It's the wealthiest county in America by many measures, and it's 30 minutes away from Washington, D.C. So I did hear that homes that have gone up for sale have sold. But I didn't hear anyone say I can't sell my house. So, and of course, maybe that changes. But so far, I don't think there's enough data to say that it's impacting home values. I just don't know that there's enough there.
So I have a question about local elected officials. What's their take on these data centers there in Virginia, in Loudoun County?
So we spoke with the vice chair of the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, and he said, I'm neutral. There's no inherently bad or good data center. It's all about how you develop it. And he said there are 6 key factors every community needs to know and answer before you take out a spade and dig shovel 1. And so in tonight's part 2 of this, we're actually going to go through that criteria and apply it to the Stratos project. And, you'd mentioned the sound. It may not be an issue with Stratos. However, I mean, while this is like the big one we're all talking about, it's not going to be likely the last data center proposed here in Utah. So I do feel like these are just valuable things for us to know here in Utah, of questions to ask me as a reporter, our listeners as residents, when we think about how we want our communities to look and be shaped in the future. So we are going to go through the Stratos project and hold it up to this list of criteria tonight. And that's really eye-opening. And we also do hear from Kevin O'Leary. His latest fact sheet released about the project says sound won't be an issue because there's going to be 1,000-foot property line buffer and other mitigation procedures. So that's a promise right now that sound won't be an issue. We'll have to see.
Is there something about the Stratos one that people in Virginia maybe were concerned about in its size, its depth, it's because they have 250. We're building our maybe 49th. You know what I mean? But is ours bigger than the 250, or what can you say?
I will say this trip was so valuable for me in giving perspective on what this project proposed to Box Elder means and how massive it is. We are in the data center capital of the world, and people there are watching us. Everyone I spoke with, they were aware of the Utah project. They're watching the Utah project. They're watching Utahns push back. They're watching changing messaging from our leaders. And it was fascinating to me to understand the scope of this project through their eyes. And I really hope we can communicate that context and that it lands in tonight's story, because I walked away from Loudoun County with a whole new perspective on the size of what is being proposed in Box Elder County. They have more experience with data centers than anywhere else in the U.S., and they are trying to comprehend the scope of what is being proposed here in Utah. They're watching us.
Wow, interesting. I saw a thing this morning that Senator John Curtis spoke yesterday at an event where he is now calling for federal transparency standards on data centers. And he said one of the things that the Box Elder County one has not done well is to be transparent, but also he feels like there needs to be a better understanding about why we want data centers in the United States. So I thought that was interesting from the senator.
Certainly. And we didn't get to speak with him while we were there, but there is a state lawmaker in Virginia who recently passed water transparency bill for data centers. And I think that, that's something we'd like to maybe do a story about in the future. I mean, we know here we saw legislation proposed on our Capitol Hill to keep secret the amount of water that golf courses are using.
Right.
Yeah.
What is our legislation going to look like around data centers? Everyone I spoke with there said, you can't play secrets when it comes to something this big. You need to be transparent. And I think we're seeing right now, we're seeing here in our political landscape, Utahns don't feel like they have the answers they need about this project. And so that's part of our job, is to push for those. And we're doing some of that tonight, and it's a long road, and we're going to keep going.
So how do we find your programs and in there's sequence that you're doing here?
Certainly. So this series is Beyond Box Elder, the Bet on Data Centers, and it started last night. It runs through Thursday, every night at 10 on KSL. Wednesday and Thursday night, Mike Anderson is going to take it away with some really interesting reporting on some of the data centers that are already in Utah that we've never really talked about. It's fascinating. So you want to see his reports too. But that's on KSL TV at 10 p.m. each night and on KSL.com the next day.
All right. Thanks so much, Daniela Rivera, KSL investigator. I can't wait. Okay, when we come back.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting because
it is interesting.
It puts ours in perspective.
Yep.
You think about a community that has 250 and we have 48, but ours is a big one.
In the next hour of Inside Sources, a prominent Utah politician lost his primary election, thanks in part to the Stratos Data Center. So we're going to talk about the future of state Senate president next, and betting on wildfires. There are some real concerns about a growing trend. I'm just offended. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour: a driver is in critical condition after taking a left turn, hitting another car going straight through an intersection. It was in Salt Lake City around 5600 West and 700 South early this morning.
All of the lights in all directions were without power because one of the vehicles went off the side of the road and took out the power supply for the stoplights.
Lieutenant Joe Sear with the Salt Lake City Police Department says the driver is in critical condition and is believed to have been under the influence. The 3 occupants in the other cars were treated for minor injuries. In other local news, a Midvale man claims the statewide ban on fireworks was a violation of his rights.
The man, identified as Peter Ellison, was arrested on the 4th of July after lighting aerial fireworks in front of a home in Salt Lake County, where all fireworks are banned. Arrest documents say Ellison told the arresting officer he knew the governor discouraged it, but it's not the law, and it's within his civil rights to light them. Police say Ellison did not cooperate with the officer and refused to cooperate in giving a fingerprint for a citation, saying he would do it his way or he could take him to jail. He did. He was then arrested on several charges, including violation of a fire restriction order. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've got red across the board. The Dow Jones is down 161 points, rather, at 0.3%. The S&P 500 is down 20 points. That's about 0.25%. And the Nasdaq is down 171 points. That is 0.6%. Coming up, we're getting close to 100-degree days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
You can't always predict what's next, but you can be ready for it in a BMW SUV. The X1 delivers on confident agility and a striking presence that stands out in a crowd. Or you can own the road in the versatile X3 with advanced driving technology like BMW Connected Drive and sporty design cues. The X5 blends performance and elegance with functionality and a commanding presence. And when only the biggest will do, the X7 steps things up with precision-crafted finishes and 3 rows of luxurious seating so there's always space, even for the biggest plans. Every model is engineered with BMW's intelligent all-wheel drive to give you the confidence in any driving condition. So while you can't always predict what's coming, for every road there's an X built to drive it. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Discover your dream vehicle at BMW of Murray or BMW of Pleasant Grove. BMW Utah. Drive elevated.
It's always fun to shop at NPS. The other day, Dee and I went into NPS, but we went in with a mission. We were doing all kinds of fun things at this time of year with our grandkids and the family. We decided, okay, we've got to get to NPS. And we did, and we started picking up all the fun things. From the treats over in the grocery area, you can pick up your regular groceries there as well, but we were looking for treats for the grandkids, things that would be perfect for the road trip that we were taking down to St. George. We found so many fun things that the kids absolutely loved. Plus, we wanted them to have toys for the backyard, the sandbox, the pool, 20 to 70% savings each and every day at all 4 of their locations. But the cool thing is, and this is where the treasure hunt aspect comes into effect, they offer even more incredible savings on top of the already low price. They're in Orem, they're in Layton, and of course, in Salt Lake. NPS.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Looking at a crash for drivers that are going eastbound I-80 approaching I-15 in Salt Lake. It's off to the left shoulder and causing a little bit of slowing in the area. The rest of the Valley freeways are in good shape. While you're planning for your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's highs are going to be in the mid-90s, and it's going to stay that way till Friday when we break into the hundreds, where it'll stay clear into next week. Right now, though, it's 84 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So it was arguably one of the biggest upsets of Utah's primary elections. Senate President Stuart Adams lost his seat. And among the reasons that many people gave was his role in MIDA, the Military Installation Development Authority, approving the Stratos Data Center project in Box Elder County.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were surprised because he'd been around so long, but now that he's effectively now a lame duck senator, we're going to take a look at what's to come for the Utah Senate as they prepare for the next general session in January. What's in store for this chamber of the Utah legislature?
And it's always interesting to talk about change and lame ducks. You don't typically see this type of turnover in a defeat. So before we had House Speaker Mike Schultz, we had House Speaker Brad Wilson, but he announced he was going to step down as Speaker and then not run again because he was going to run for the U.S. Senate. So we knew that was coming. But there's only so much time, right? There's you don't pass bills in the interim, really, unless you call a special session. But right now, what Senate President Stuart Adams has is basically the rest of this calendar year as the Senate President. And then even before we get to that point, after the general election in November, you will know who's going to go to the state legislature, and they'll hold leadership elections. So even before he leaves as the Senate President come December 31st, he will know who is going to replace him as the Senate President.
Oh, they'll have a vote on that?
They'll have a vote on that within the majority caucus. Usually it's the week of the general election. It's usually that Thursday or Friday.
Will he have any input in that, do you think? I mean, obviously input, but...
Sure, he could. I mean, in the sense that he could back somebody, he could, throw his endorsement behind somebody. He could go around and campaign. I mean, they campaign to the members of their body, and pitch them on why they should be the new Senate President, the new Speaker of the House, whatever it is.
So he had a challenger that came in to this position pretty early, and before Stratos became newsworthy.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, and I know there were a lot of challengers in the Republican Party this year for a lot of races, that somebody thought he had some vulnerability. I don't know whether it was just somebody taking a chance. Was it Stephanie Hollis?
Yes, Stephanie Hollis.
So she's been great. She talked to us before, but I mean, what was there? Would he have been vulnerable but for this Stratos project?
So I think the answer is yes. However, I think the timing and the big uproar, I think it was the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. One of the things that Stephanie Hollis said after she won the primary election is that she really felt like as she campaigned, and this was, again, she started in December of 2025, and so this was long before the Stratos Data Center thing kind of blew up. She said people felt like he wasn't listening to them, that they didn't have a voice on Capitol Hill because they weren't feeling heard. And we know that can actually be a real thing when voters start to feel like their elected officials are no longer paying attention to input from the people they're supposed to represent. A lot of times they do get voted out. It's not always, but it certainly can be a factor. So there was some vulnerability there, and then it just kind of blew up from there.
He had a little bit of controversy over some legislation involving a sex offender, as I recall, that may have been tangential related to a family member of his. And I think his involvement in what he did, just from my perspective as an attorney, was overstated a little bit. Nonetheless, he probably shouldn't have waded in the way he did, because it was a...
Look, some people feel like the data center was like the breaking point because there had been a series of things where people had questioned what was happening. So he took a free trip to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. He had, of course, a lot of donations coming in from corporations and individuals who were doing business with the state. He had some people question his campaign finance reporting, right? But then everything kind of came to a head with the data center, I think, and the timing for him couldn't have been worse. Because as it turned out, not only was he associated with the Military Installation Group Development Authority, MIDA, he's the chair.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that gave the approval to the project, and then they presented it to the county commissioners who also lost their seats, the two county commissioners who were up for election. And they said, ta-da, here's the project. It's already approved. And now you need to pass a resolution, right? So that's I think, really an interesting commentary on maybe the mood of the public, right? But one of the things, too, to think about is what does that look like in January? Is it going to change the nature of the Senate? Is it going to change the nature of how they do business? I mean, there are people who had some pretty strong opinions about how President Adams ran the Senate. Some favorable, some not favorable, with the way he allowed bills to be heard or not heard. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see who becomes the next Senate president.
As you look at the three branches of government, would you characterize him as the most powerful member of the legislative branch?
Well, typically you would say that because he has a smaller body, and so yeah, I mean he's over 20. He's the leader of 29 people. The Speaker of the House has 75. Of course, the governor. I would consider the governor to have be very powerful, but the executive branch plays a different role than the legislative branch, right?
And certainly, the Chief Justice of the Utah Supreme Court,
and
right?
They have the third, but yeah. I mean, typically it's framed that way, but again, some of it has to do with how do you govern when you're the person who's in charge. And when he gave his opening speech the first day of the legislative session, and we were there for that, January of this year, one of the things he emphasized was wanting to have Utah be on the map as a place that was friendly to data centers and AI. And it kind of came back to bite him.
Yeah, I mean, Utah, thanks in no small part to him and others, does very well nationally in terms of economics, in terms of volunteerism, in terms of crime. I mean, there's just so much going on that he takes some credit for, justifiably so. I mean, I think our legislature's done a good job. But I wanted to ask you this. How much of the goings-on at the legislature is really determined by the head, the head of the House or the head of the Senate? Do they really play a big part in the...
You're asking me to give you some behind-the-scenes sausage-making information.
No.
I will tell you that it does depend. It does vary depending on who the leader is. When Speaker Lockhart was there, Becky Lockhart, she was very collaborative, and she was very deliberate in saying, I want all ideas to have an opportunity to be heard. And she learned really quickly she couldn't weigh in early on, or people would say, oh, that's what the speaker wants, and so that's how I'm going to vote. I will say that there are leaders typically who say, I am controlling what gets heard and what doesn't get heard. And sometimes to the point where members of the body feel like they're being bullied. You will vote this way on this bill, or your bill doesn't get heard, period. I think that's not okay.
Yeah.
I think some people disagree with maybe the messaging. I think Senator Dan Thatcher, he talked to the Tribune and he felt like he was bullied, and it's one of the reasons that he left the legislature, but before he did, he changed to the Utah Forward Party, is he felt like he didn't actually have the ability to have his opinions heard, right? That he was shut down all the time because he wasn't friendly enough to the Senate president.
I assume, and we don't have time for you to answer this, that he'll leave, President Adams will leave with a good legacy, though, that he did a great job there. I mean, I think he's a very respected Utah politician.
Well, again, it depends on who writes the history, right?
Yeah,
So yes, I think there's a lot of things he can point to, and sometimes the last thing that happens is what you're remembered for, right? And that is one of the things that happens in politics.
Well, coming up next on Inside Sources, this is just too weird to be true, but is it okay to bet on wildfires? What do you think? Text us at 57500. Seriously, we'll hear some concerns on a growing trend affecting real people, real families across the country. Stay with us.
Do you love your front door? Does it improve the curb appeal of your home? Does it feel secure and new and perfect for your home? No? Let me direct you to Peach Windows and Doors, where everything they do is custom. They can install a front door or a basement door or a big door that you could drive a car through if you wanted to. And the knobs on these doors are not just knobs. They're like a locking system that works like a safe. These are the most secure doors, and Peach builds those doors. So when they install, they are custom fit to your home. You can even have an option to have like a glass window on the side of your door. They're called operable side light doors, and they can open themselves, which would allow you to move something large in or out of the house. It's just all of the custom features that we can do for you at Peach Windows and Doors. I encourage you to stop by their showroom on 3rd West at 2940 South, or see some of the beautiful doors and windows online at peachwindowsanddoors.com.
Jane is a small business owner.
That's right.
And tell them what that's like, Jane.
Yeah, well, it's like a roller coaster with a lot of ups and downs, and some days things can feel like they're flying off the rails.
Yep, it's a lot. But the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business can help you manage it all. With the largest, fastest fiber-powered network designed for 100% reliability with business internet and wireless connect. Plus gig speeds with security and equipment included. All with a 5-year price lock.
Nice. So everything stays on track.
Exactly. The Total Solutions Advantage. Get started for just $60 a month for 12 months when you add wireless connect to a qualifying internet package. No one does business like Comcast Business.
Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. New customers only. 1-year agreement, paperless billing, and automatic payments with bank account required. $60 offer requires 300 meg internet, security edge, and additional qualifying service. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place
The ridgeline is imposing the escarpments, the drops.
where survival
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard. Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
The new Inside Sources.
So people can bet on just about anything nowadays, but wildfires, that's a new one, and it's quickly burning out of control. See what I did there?
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Is it okay to bet on wildfires? You can join the conversation. Text us at 57500. I think I know where most people are heading here.
Look, we're talking about prediction markets and the very things, of course, that the Utah legislature is trying to rein in. It's not just a legal question. It's a moral question. Is it okay to bet on new and ongoing wildfires?
Is it okay to bet on anything that somebody could get hurt? And could it actually cause people to start a fire?
Yeah.
You bet there's going to be a wildfire in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Well, what if you're up there camping that weekend?
I know, right?
You could start it.
So we are joined by Deseret News opinion editor Jay Evenson. He follows all kinds of gambling stories. He really, in my opinion, is an expert on all things gambling. And he joins us in studio for this conversation. So, Jay, what was your first response when you heard that people were using prediction markets to bet on wildfires?
Well, two things. I've been covering this long enough to not be terribly surprised by it. But I also thought of the words of Joseph Welch. He was the attorney who confronted Joseph McCarthy, Senator McCarthy, in 1954. And he said to him, "Have you no sense of decency?" That's the key question here. You can imagine how you would feel if your home burned down and you found out somebody across town made a lot of money on that through a bet.
It's just gross, actually.
Or if you lost a loved one. I mean,
even worse.
I can't imagine anything worse.
Well, this actually came to light a couple of years ago in the Palisades fire in Los Angeles, which destroyed 16,000 structures, and there were 31 fatalities from that. And there were people who were making money on, I think it was Polymarket. And the other aspect of all this is that you can make these wagers from Utah, even though gambling is illegal in Utah, because these prediction markets are governed by the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, which was set up in the 1930s in order to make sure that states didn't say that trading in legitimate commodities was gambling and could outlaw it. So they set up this separate commission. But a judge a couple of years ago decided that these prediction markets qualify somehow as commodities trading, and so it's legal.
I'm still, like, my head just wants to pop off, because the idea that you can place a bet and make money on wildfire destruction is just outrageous. Like, I just can't wrap my head around it. And I just, like... If you want to talk about ill-gotten gains, there's all kinds of conversations we can have about gambling and slot machines and, losing your retirement money by playing poker. But this is literally gambling on someone else's life or livelihood or both.
Yes, and there's a new website coming out called Wildfire, but instead of the I, there's a Y, and wild and Y and fire. Their tagline is, "You can't predict fire, but you can trade on it."
That's crazy.
I mean, gross. They're just unapologetic about this, and they post. I think it was Polymarket post wagers on the Palisades fire. You could wager on where you think the fire is going to go next, how much of it will be contained by a certain date, how many structures will be destroyed.
Oh my gosh,
that type of thing.
Are you just stunned by the breadth of what people can vote on, or bet on? I mean, we've talked to you before about this, and every time we talk to you, there's something new, and I'm thinking, where does it end? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't.
Well, if it does, I'm not sure where. These markets started off as prediction markets, mainly concerning elections in the country, and you can see, I suppose, some value to that, because depending on how the wagering is going, if you have enough of a sample size, you could probably accurately predict who's going to win an election. But in my opinion, there's a long stretch between predicting the outcome of an election and something where human beings' lives are going to be destroyed. And your listeners may or may not remember, a few months ago, there was a Green Beret who was arrested because he had made bets on Polymarket on when the president of Venezuela was going to be ousted from office by U.S. military forces. Well, this Green Beret had advanced knowledge of that.
Yeah.
And that's the type of question where crowdsourcing, to me, doesn't help, because the only people who know,
right?
And they shouldn't be sharing that information.
Yeah. So we do have two texters so far. Of course, I'm not surprised. Because they think it's outrageous also. Waging on wildfires opens the door to ensure they win by starting fires to ensure they get the money. That's what one texter says, and the other one's absolutely not. I can't think of a more sure way of encouraging some sick individuals to start or spread fires. I agree with them. It's just wild.
Yeah. So I guess the more I think about this, Jay, the more I think that the government should try to get in further and do some level of regulation, but it seems like they're not interested in doing that.
Well, our representative, Blake Moore, is co-sponsoring a bill that would try to curtail this. But it's really not getting legs. You would think every time we have this kind of thing, I thought after the Green Beret was arrested that there would be a movement in Congress, because you're not only wagering on insider information, you're giving information to the enemy on when a certain thing is going to happen. If the Venezuelans were smart, they would have looked on Polymarket and kind of had a good idea when that attack was going to happen. So it's a national security issue, and I don't understand why more people in Congress aren't interested in changing this and in strictly identifying. I don't know what commodity we're trading here. I guess information.
Human life.
At its core, though, you make a good point with the Green Beret case, because if it's determined that a person does wager on something for which they have insider information, you're the person that started the fire, you're the person that did this. I mean, that could lead to very serious consequences. I mean, that's the happy ending, I guess, to some of this, but at least there's some good news that these people could be held accountable if they do create these fires or do bet on something like that.
Right. Polymarket's a little bit more out there because it's actually offshore. And so it's not even really under the Commodities Trading Commission.
So I can understand. Look, I don't gamble. I think it's really unwise, but this is just morally offensive. But I can understand saying, okay, could we predict tornadoes or an earthquake? When is the San Andreas Fault gonna, release the big one? I told you I saw in Polymarket there are bets for when Jesus Christ will return. Yes. I can understand that. This is an action that can be directly influenced by somebody going out there and doing it. So I'll tell you this, texter, betting on wildfires is a direct ticket to heck.
Well, yeah.
Period. Right.
Well, but even if you're talking about earthquakes, when an earthquake is going to happen, there are people who could be killed in that event.
Oh, I know.
And you're profiting off.
I know, and that is gross. That is gross. But at least it's not something that you can go out. I'm not advocating for conspiracy theorists to weigh in here, but that you could go out and you could predict and say, I'm going to set off an earthquake because
you have no
I made
control
this
over it or no inside information about it. Yeah. It's still offensive in the sense that you just mentioned, but there is the lack of the ability to manipulate the market.
Well, that's why I'm saying I don't want to encourage conspiracy theorists to say, yeah, there are. You can totally manipulate the weather.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so is there a solution, Jay, in the last 30 seconds or 60 seconds? What's a solution to something like this that is just so reprehensible in my book?
Well, it was a judge that decided that these prediction markets fall under the Commodities Futures Trading Commission.
It's not corn.
We need either an appeal and an appellate judge to overturn that, or Congress to come in and specifically define this action as something other than, and something subject to state law as all other gambling is.
Yeah, just really makes me want to go hit somebody. No, not really.
I'll leave now.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, after the break.
It's really upsetting to see the executive branch intervening in our work.
So the battle between who gets to tell America's history is heating up. A new report from the White House says the Smithsonian Museums present radical views of American history. More on that next.
It's 11:29 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. A few blocks on New York's east side has been evacuated due to structural issues with a high-rise building that's being renovated. That's when workers noticed bricks falling, saw the buckling of beams on the building's 21st and 22nd floor. ABC's Aaron Katursky is on scene.
The FDNY shut down 42nd Street and a number of adjacent blocks out of an abundance of caution while the Department of Buildings and its structural engineers try to figure out how to render this place safe. For now, everybody is out, nobody is allowed in, and a number of buildings, including residential, commercial, even a hotel, remain evacuated.
The building is the former headquarters of Pfizer and was being retrofitted for apartments. Other national stories KSL is following. We've seen the future of airline flight, and it is good. That is, if you have enough money. ABC's Sherry Preston has more.
American, Delta, and United Airlines all say they're pumping more money into premium seats and experiences on board, including sliding glass doors, cocktail bars, and soundproof relaxation pods for those in first class. Some say it's more proof that travel is strikingly different for those in the expensive seats versus the economy seats. Delta CEO Ed Bastain telling a recent podcast, "We can't win by providing the cheapest seats. We win by providing the best."
Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've got red across the board. The Dow Jones is down 119 points. That's nearly 0.25%. The S&P 500 is down 19.5 points. That's also 0.25%. And the Nasdaq is down 170 points. That is 0.6%. Coming up, we've got a searing weekend ahead of us. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM. When you need a new water heater, you need it right now.
Yep, can't wait on that.
When you need a new furnace or a new air conditioner come the summertime, you need it right now. So Superior Water and Air has a wonderful program where they can help you with financing. If you need it, get it today and pay it off when you get your tax refund or just over time.
And that's one of the great things is they have multiple financing options. It's not just one, okay, you've got to do it this way. It's, you can wait till just after your tax refund. Well, what if you need no payments until later in the year?
Yeah.
They can work with you like that because, look, they want to help you get you back on your feet with the thing that doesn't work that you got to use.
Yeah.
And they'll just work with your situation. What a great way to do it.
I loved introducing you to my friends at Superior because they're just great people. And when you invite somebody into your home, you want to feel good about them.
Yeah, and they're so customer centric. That was what really impressed me was they wanted to work with me and my family, whatever needs we might have.
Right. They want your home to be safe and clean. Superior Water and Air. Here's the number, 801-872-8483, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
Hey, Holiday. New York just got a whole lot closer. Magnolia Bakery, New York's famous bakery since 1996, is now open in Holiday Hills. Craving something iconic? Step into a true neighborhood bakery experience using simple, high-quality ingredients to create baked fresh daily American classics, including the world-famous banana pudding, cupcakes, cakes, cheesecakes, and more. Magnolia Bakery is known around the world. It's the taste of New York, served fresh and locally owned and operated right here in Utah, bringing that legendary charm home to Holiday Hills. It's more than just a delicious dessert stop. It's worth the visit. You've seen Magnolia Bakery on Saturday Night Live and more. Now it's your turn to see what the buzz is all about. Find the authentic Big Apple sweetness at 1895 East Rodeo Walk Drive in Holiday, where the Cottonwood Mall used to be. Open every day, including Sunday. Magnolia Bakery in Holiday Hills, where every day deserves dessert. A New York City bite without the flight.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
We have a crash in Tooele. This is northbound Main Street, 1000 North. It's blocking the two left lanes. And also looking at some slowdowns for drivers due to a crash eastbound I-80 going between Redwood Road and I-15. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's going to be hot and sunny with highs in the 90s. The rest of the week will be much of the same. Today and tomorrow, there's a small chance of thunderstorms. Heat continues this weekend. We're going to hit triple digits. Right now, though, it's 84 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, the country's most prestigious of museums, the Smithsonian, is now facing fire from the Trump administration. They're claiming that they're accusing them of extreme political activism for presenting radical views of American history.
I have issues with this, but let's start with some details from ABC's Sophie Flay.
The report, released by the White House Domestic Policy Council, claims the Smithsonian cannot be trusted to tell America's story honestly. The report singles out the National Museum of American History, saying it would benefit most Americans if the Smithsonian's flagship history museum had a label at every entrance that reads, "Warning, the exhibits in this museum were prepared by people who don't want you to love your country."
Ouch.
There's just not enough words sometimes. At least not words I can say on the air.
Yeah.
Look, here is the issue for me. Whitewashing history ensures that we will not learn from history.
Yeah. And I mean, some of our history is bad.
We have had dark days in this country. And, you know, we've had conversations on our show about, are these unprecedented times? They're not. They're precedented, right? And we had a conversation with the person who runs the History Does Not Suck podcast, and he has a new book out. And just laying out, look, we've had times where elections were contested before. We've had times where people didn't like their neighbors very much. We've had times that we have learned from and hopefully can continue to learn from. But we wouldn't know that if we didn't record it and say, this is part of our history. We can be honest that some of our history isn't that great, even in our own families, right? One of the things that I've learned when I'm like doing the family history stuff is you want the warts and all, right? You don't want this sanitized version of, hey, mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and everybody, they were always great. They always had plenty of money. It's not true.
Right.
And it's not helpful.
Well, some historians are actually weighing in on this as well. American Historical Association Executive Director Sarah Weichel spoke to ABC about the White House criticism of the Smithsonian.
We want to ensure that everyone is able to walk into a museum and not walk away with a rote timeline, but rather a new set of questions that they can ask and that they can explore themselves.
And here's one of the things too. Like, I know that slavery is bad. It's part of our history. And there are people who tried to justify slavery by saying, well, it was better for them economically. I'm like, you stop right now.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? I mean, and they do it today. They'll still justify it. But certainly at the time, they were using economic arguments to talk about why slavery was good, right? Not good. It's not good.
Well, and it's part of our history, slavery.
Right.
And it's not something that we look back on with pride or with, hey, we were doing the right thing. I think that universally we did away with it. We obviously understood that there was something wrong with it. We enacted some legislation, including the 14th Amendment, to say, hey, wait a minute, we're never going back there.
Look, okay. What's our next
here's more from the executive director of the American Historical Association.
I want them to understand that curatorial and museum practices are well established and that we are here to tell the entirety of the American story.
So you wonder what authority the administration has in what the Smithsonian can and can't put in on its floor. And so, I mean, it's criticism. They're saying, hey, you're making Americans look bad. You're making us, but it's at the end of the day, it's history. And you would hope that the Smithsonian would say,
Well, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, this is what we're doing. This is American history.
So look, I think. Okay, so when President Trump took office in the most recent go around a year and a half ago, he wanted the National Park Service to scrub any plaques that he said would shine a negative light on the United States. They've also done it in Arlington Cemetery. They have taken down, in fact, sometimes they do it under the label of we're getting rid of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Sometimes they do it because it paints America in a bad light. So one of the things that happened recently is they opened a period of public comment for concerning information at national parks, because they're looking to root out this negative light that America is being portrayed on. Do you know what happened?
What?
35,000 comments, almost all talking about how they are sad that America is whitewashing their history, that they're sad that they took away the plaque about Sacagawea. They're sad that they took down, information about how the Black community had XYZ. I mean, what they got was intense pushback saying you should not have done this.
And I'm wondering, even if I think of it from a devil's advocate position, why this would even be espoused. I mean, that we want Americans just to think, man, we just had it nailed right from the beginning.
I can tell you, well, okay, so that's part of it, actually, is we didn't learn anything, that we didn't need to learn anything. The Constitution came direct from God with no changes needed. And I will just say the Constitutional Convention was very heated and very animated, and it was not agreed upon. It didn't come out fully formed, right? There was a lot of back and forth. There were some people so mad they wouldn't even show up for the final vote. There were compromises that were made because they hoped that America could get it right down the road. I'm specifically speaking about slavery. But this isn't the first time that quote-unquote victors are trying to rewrite history. It happens all the time. In fact, that's one of the issues we have learned from history. So if you go all the way back to Egyptian history, there were pharaohs who took over who were so angry at previous pharaohs that they would deface all their monuments, right? Well, you're not the king, you're not the pharaoh anymore, or especially if there were women, right? You're not the pharaoh, you don't represent us. And in fact, they have found information in Egypt. If they won a battle, lots of inscriptions about winning a battle. If they lost a battle that we know from other historical records, there's nothing there. There's nothing there, right? Because they want to change, I think, what's happening, or the view of what's happening.
I don't know how you expect our young people to appreciate history and to avoid recreating problems if you don't let them know, hey, here's some steps along the way that we missed, and we should learn from this.
There are, and I've got a friend that texted me that said this is like when the National Gallery in a Hillary Clinton display declared that Lincoln had nothing to do with the Emancipation Proclamation, and that it was the Democrats at the time that freed the slaves. That is also incorrect, right? Let's tell an accurate history.
Right.
We don't have to whitewash it. There were lots of people who had a large part in American history. We know right here in Utah, there are a lot of women who were really involved. And I would say it wasn't until we really had a concerted effort to bring forward the stories of women in Utah's founding. And I'm talking about across the spectrum, women of all kinds, from all backgrounds, that we realized actually women have been playing a role in Utah politics for a long, long time.
And what's really troubling, I know we're out of time, is it's being characterized, what the Smithsonian is doing, as political activism. That's putting a really awkward spin on it. Anyway, coming up on Inside Sources, well wishes are in store for the famous the ninth whale. We'll tell you why when we come back.
I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Don't face the IRS alone.
I was self-employed, and I got behind on my taxes. And then 1 year became 2 years and 3 years, and $116,535.47 to be exact. It just became overwhelming. Finally, I went to another tax company, and they were more interested in how good they were than helping me. I heard about Jordan and talking to the other people who'd done and been in the same situations that I was in, and their tax problems seemed just like mine. And so I went to Jordan, and it was amazing. They were able to negotiate it down to $5,200, and life became wonderful to me.
Don't face the IRS alone. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com to schedule your free consultation. That's endtaxworry.com.
I will be forever grateful.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
It might be the heat of summer, but it's not too early to talk about college football. Big 12 Media Days is underway now, and the teams are showing up in full force. BYU Cougar insider Mitch Harper previewed BYU's Media Day on Utah's Morning News today, and Utes insider Steve Bartle will preview Utah football tomorrow at 8:45 in the morning. Join Andy and Amanda for these lively conversation, and of course our thanks to the Stern team powered by Omada Real Estate for making our special coverage happen.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Hi, it's Greg Skordas. What if I told you that 4 weeks from now, everything can feel different, including your energy, your weight, and the way your clothes fit? That's what Soda Dynamic Diet did for me, and that's what it will do for you. My first 4 weeks with Soda, I lost 18 pounds. After 7 weeks, I'd lost 30 pounds. Right now, listeners can get 4 weeks free when they call 866-800-SOTA and mention KSL Radio. Soda Diet and Nutrition teaches you how to let go of the weight and keep it off for a lifetime with no shots, no pills, just real food, expert guidance, and habits that last. Weight loss medications can cost a lot, and for many people, the bill does not end. Soda is different. Degreed nutritionists help you get the root cause of your challenges, guide you one-on-one, and teach you lifelong habits so that you can lose the weight without signing up for a lifetime bill. Get 4 weeks free when you call 866-800-SODA and mention KSL Radio. SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. For over 100 years, C.R. England has been a commercial transportation industry leader, backed by top-of-the-line equipment and an experienced company-trained team. Chief Legal Officer T.J. England joins us with more.
C.R. England and England Logistics are proud to be a part of Utah's history and future. Founded right here in 1920, our company has grown from a single truck into a nationwide transportation and logistics provider, while remaining family-owned and operated through 4 generations of leadership. Today, we provide truckload transportation and logistics services across the United States and Mexico, supporting some of the world's largest and most respected brands. Our commitment to safety and service has earned top service provider recognitions from companies like Target, Kroger, Walmart, and many others who depend on us every day. Beyond serving our customers, we're deeply committed to giving back. Through our charitable foundation, the One Initiative, we've helped provide more than 15 million meals to children in need through food bank partnerships across the United States and Mexico. We're proud to call Utah home, and we look forward to serving Utah communities and communities nationwide for generations to come.
C.R. England is committed to giving back to the community while providing the transportation services businesses and families rely on every day. They continue to strengthen the state's economy and make a positive impact both on and off the road. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Inside Sources.
Well, here's something I never thought I'd say on the radio. Although, to be honest, there's a lot of things I never thought I'd say on the radio. But
including today.
Congrats to the 9th whale for having a baby.
Yeah, the lore around the whale, officially called Out of the Blue, just continues to grow. Fans of the whale are mystified by this new addition, and it's the cutest thing in the world if you've seen a picture of it.
It's so cute. So one person online wrote, "It's the baby we didn't know we needed, but somehow will bring us all closer together." So
I have to say,
story.
just this, the 9th project, it's probably been 20 years, but whoever the brains behind that was, and I'm sure it's been a lot of people, but that has just become one of the funnest parts of the city, the 9th area. And I think there are others that are trying to copycat it a little bit, but they've really done a great job over there.
So the whale first appeared in 2022, and I remember thinking, like, this is weird and unusual, a whale in the middle of a desert, right? And it's not a whole whale if you have seen it. So it's the tail. But people have been going there. They've left all kinds of trinkets. They left Swedish fish. They left cans of tuna. They left a photo of Jimmy Carter. I don't know why, for a variety of reasons, I guess. Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall once even left a Utah Jazz shirt at the base of the sculpture in the hopes that the whale could help the team win the NBA lottery.
Didn't work.
And then there's a baby.
Yeah, then now there's a baby. And it just appears.
It's so cute.
Somebody took some time because it's a dead ringer. I mean, it looks like
they did.
The
it's
same
so
color scheme
cute.
and everything.
So it's really fun because this is a KSL.com story. So the creator of the baby, his name is Michael Claflin, and he lives in Sugar House, and he said, to be honest, I'm just as shocked as everyone else. I just made it on a whim. I thought it would be funny to make a miniature whale.
Oh, so they do know who it was. Okay.
Not the big sculpture.
No,
I don't think I know, but the baby.
The replica.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. So anyway, he decided 2 years ago he was going to build his own whale replica just for the fun of it, paying homage to this original, the big one on 9th and 9th. And he said he did it. It sat around his house for a while. He almost threw it away a couple of times. And then he lost his job last month. So he decided he was just going to paint it to look like the original design. We do know the artist who did that one, by the way. And he thought it would be funny if he put it in his front yard. But instead, people didn't like it as much as he did. So he just put it on the outskirts of the city and it ended up by the whale.
Well, let's hope it stays there for a
while.
The
baby. It's
and matures.
So cute.
Right, yes.
It's so cute. That's our fun story. It really is fun. So I have to tell you, on this day, there's the way I started my newsletter, there's so many days today. Actually, I don't know why. What is today? July 7th. I don't know why 7/7 is like all these great holidays. However, so it is National Tell the Truth Day. It is also World Chocolate Day. So here is me telling you the truth. I love really good chocolate. High quality chocolate. There's also other days related to food today. But today on June 7th, on this day, in 1456, Joan of Arc had a retrial, and she was acquitted. 25 years after her death. I mean, she was posthumously acquitted, but this is in 1456, and so
I think it's interesting when they do that, when authorities will choose to do that to try
they should
fix somebody's legacy.
I know, yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had several instances in the United States where we've done that.
Right.
So it was on this day in 1861 that Nettie Stevens was born. I bet you don't know who Nettie Stevens is.
I cannot place that name
at
all.
She discovered the X and Y chromosomes. Did she get the credit? Probably not.
You're on one today.
Oh, well, yes, I am. Okay. It was on this day in 1865 that Mary Surratt became the first woman executed by the U.S. government for her role. In fact, the only woman, as far as I know, by the government for her role in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Now, we know the story, right, of Booth.
Right. John Wilkes.
John Wilkes, thank you. who shot the president. But there were a group of 4 other people who were convicted and executed for planning that assassination. So there were 3 men, Lewis Powell, David Harold, and George Atzerodt. and also this woman, Mary Surratt, and they were all hung by the U.S. government on this day in 1865.
It almost makes it appear that she's the first woman executed by the U.S. government, period.
I think she was.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think she was. So here's one also. In 1898, and I saw this on social media a bunch on July 4th, the U.S. annexed Hawaii on this day in 1898. They did not ask Hawaii.
Yeah.
They just said, hey, by the way, we're annexing you. And by the way, you have a new governor. And by the way, his name is Dole, I think, of the Dole Plantation. Anyway, it was a hostile takeover of by a foreign government, I would say. They were a kingdom, right?
Yeah.
They were a kingdom.
And they weren't made a state until later.
Much later.
Yeah.
They were the 50th state.
Right.
They already could see early on the benefit of the military marine placement of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Anyway, 1898. Okay.
Visionary.
So you know the expression, the best thing since sliced bread?
Mm-hmm.
There was an expression before that.
Which was?
That it was when a company... So it was the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri. It was on this day in 1928 that they figured out how to have a machine that sliced bread. And they described it as the best thing since bread was wrapped.
It's the best thing since wrapped bread.
I know.
Yeah, now it's
Isn't that the cutest thing?
1928, so it's been almost 100 years.
Almost
and it still
100
is
years that we have sliced bread.
Yeah, it's still the phrase that we like.
I make homemade bread sometimes, not very often anymore. It's hard to slice. It's hard to get it thin. It's hard to get it even. It's hard to get it not smushed. So that was a great invention.
Yeah, that was a good thing.
All right. It was on this day in 1930 that building began on the Hoover Dam. It was also on this day in 1946 that Jimmy Carter married Rosalind. They were so cute as a young couple together in 1946.
And they were cute as the president and first lady for years
they really
and years.
were.
They did a great job.
They also were cute as 90-something-year-olds working on Habitat for Humanity homes. So that was cute too. It was also on this day. This one is really interesting. So 80 years almost, that the Roswell Daily Record quoted officials at Roswell Army Airfield saying they recovered a, quote, flying saucer that crashed onto a ranch.
And people still believe that.
I know.
That there was something
There's
behind
now the UFO Commission out of the government.
Well, I got to play one. My This Day in History. This is from the Beatles. They recorded this song in 1869. The Beatles. Of course, not 1869. 1969. Yeah, it was not that long ago. But anyway, that was a George Harrison song, one of his famous ones.
Oh, we're almost out of time, Greg. I haven't left you very much time, but I want to give you two more. So it was on this day in 1981 that Sandra Day O'Connor was nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court by Ronald Reagan. He made a promise he would nominate a woman if he won, and he did. And then it was on this day in 2019. The U.S. women's soccer team won their fourth World Cup title. The women's soccer team. Yay!
Yeah, they just continue winning. The men, I don't know, not so much. You know, and maybe I could digress for just a minute because I want to talk about the men's soccer team and what a proud job they did and what a great job they did for this country. And what and I hope that we don't look back on this as the time when, you know, we had a person with a red card who was allowed to play because we kind of got slapped in the face for that. And I think it's a little bit unfortunate. Belgium came and just said, you know what did they say? Don't, overturn this, guys. I mean, I felt so uncomfortable yesterday, and I know I'm kind of rambling here a little bit, when we decided to overcome and overturn what is in soccer lore just the red card. You just don't play after that. And it's not something that you just overturn, especially by a political or other leaders. But FIFA's president ought to be embarrassed at what happened there. And just, you know, I think the right thing happened, that the Belgium won. I know the U.S. team, I was rooting for them, but that